Chapter 2308. Grounded for 2 months, Yun Chujo looked at Gushur aggrievedly. Grandmother Go. What do you mean by your Yi family? Am I not a member of the Yi family? My father's family status is low. Do I not even have the right to make suggestions? Yi Yuanliang was already filled with anger. He glared fiercely at Gushur. Shut up. Little ninth girl, just say it. Gushur endured it and did not say anything. She knew that old Master Yi did not rub the sand in his eyes. If she made a scene, old Master Yi would not let her off. Yun Chujo then continued. This seat is definitely arranged according to seniority. Then why is Sister Bingying sitting at the head of second aunt? Could it be that Sister Bingying is even more honorable than second aunt? Once Yun Chujia's words came out, everyone's gaze focused on Yi Bingying. That's right, why would a junior like her sit at the head of the Min Shi? Lu Shi was shocked. She naturally knew that Yi Bingying sitting like this was against the rules. However, old Master Yi's wife had passed away long ago, and the inner residence was headed by Gushur. Thus, she was happy that her daughter was suppressing the Min Shi. She did not expect that she would be pointed out by this little bitch today. What should she do? Yi Bingying felt as if she was sitting on pins and needles at this moment. Her face flushed red. Just now, she was still lecturing Yun Chujo for having shallow eyelids and losing the face of the Yi family. But now she was slapped in the face in the open. Gushur snorted coldly. You can't blame Bingyu for this. The second daughter-in-law's health isn't good, so she rarely goes to greet me. Therefore, Bingying is used to sitting next to the eldest daughter-in-law. She can just change it in the future. Yi Bingyu was about to explode from anger. This old woman was simply lying through her teeth. Rarely went to greet her? When did her mother not go and set rules? Yi Bingyu was about to speak when Min Shi held her hand and motioned for her not to say anything. Yi Bingyu could only remain silent in anger. Although old Master Yi did not understand the matters of the inner residence, he was well aware of some things. He sighed. Gushur, your mother-in-law passed away in the early years. Thus, you've been in charge of the Yi family for the past few years. It's hard work even if you haven't contributed much. However, in recent years you have become more and more outrageous. There are some things that I, as a father-in-law, cannot say out loud. You should go back and reflect on it. Leave the matters of the inner residence to Lu Shi for the next 2 months. Gushur could not believe her ears. Old Master Yi had actually grounded her for 2 months? She stood up and asked sharply, Old Master, daughter-in-law thinks that she is hardworking and thrifty. What did she do wrong? Even if Bingying's seat is a little inappropriate, it is not to the extent of grounding daughter-in-law for 2 months, right? Old Master Yi looked at her coldly. Gushur, as long as I'm not dead, this family is still under my control. If you want to say more, leave Zhonglu to Lu Shi in the future. A trace of joy appeared at the corner of Lu Shi's eyes. She wished that Gushur and old Master Yi would start arguing. That way, she would be able to obtain the authority of the housekeeper. Unfortunately, although Gushur was domineering and vicious, she still had a brain. When she heard old Master Yi's words, she knew that old Master Yi had heard what she said yesterday. Thus, she sat down embarrassedly and did not say anything. Old Master Yi swept a glance at Yi Bingying again. Yi Bingying's face flushed red. She swapped seats with Min Shi and hated Yun Chujo to death in her heart. The atmosphere in the room was very oppressive for a moment. Only the culprit, a certain Jiu, was rolling her eyes. There was still one big thing that she had not done yet, and that was Xiaohua Garden. Xiaohua Garden was her mother's courtyard. No matter what, she had to take it back. She would not be able to see her mother anymore. At least she could still remember her mother. Chapter 2309. I want to live in Xiaohua Garden. According to Min Shi, Xiaohua Garden was originally just an ordinary courtyard. It was just a little bigger than the other courtyards. After Yilan lived in it, she carefully designed it. Every blade of grass and every tree inside was planted by her mother. Originally, the old master had said that even if Yilan got married in the future, Xiaohua Garden would always be kept for Yilan. No one was allowed to live in it. Later, Gushur forced Yi Bingying to live there. The old master probably thought that Yilan was dead anyway, and there were no descendants, so he did not say anything more. Now that she was back, the things that belonged to her mother naturally had to be taken out. It was time for the dove that occupied the magpie's nest to get lost. Yun Chujo knew that she had already caused 2 incidents in a row. If she brought up the Xiaohua Garden incident again, the old Master Yi would definitely not like it. Therefore, this matter could not be brought up by her. She could only act according to the circumstances. Great-grandfather Yi looked at Yi Zhihui. Zhihui, how's the investigation of the 1,000-year-old fire marrow coming along? Yi Zhihui had a dejected look on his face. Grandfather, I've checked it. There's no trace at all. It was definitely not stolen. The 1,000-year-old fire marrow must have gained sentience and burrowed underground to escape. Sigh. If it gained sentience, it would be even more precious. What a pity. This is all a fortuitous encounter. Since she ran away, so be it. Bingying's aptitude was not bad. Even if she did not have the 1,000-year fire marrow, she would still be able to enter the Primordial Chaos Sect's outer sect. Next year will be the day when the Primordial Chaos Sect enrolls students. During this period of time, cultivate properly and don't waste it, Old Master Yi said in a deep voice. Yi Bingying hurriedly stood up and agreed. The uneasiness from before was swept away. That's right, she was a genius with excellent aptitude. Not to mention the Yi family, even other first-class families were able to enter the outer sect of the Origin Chaotic Sect. It was as rare as a phoenix feather or a Qilin's horn. Yun Chujo, that little bitch, could not compare to her at all. Yun Chujia's heart was moved. If she could really enter the Origin Chaotic Sect, it would be much more interesting than being in the Xingtian Academy. Originally, entering the Xingtian Academy was to prevent the Yi family from taking revenge. Now that she had entered the Yi family, the Xingtian Academy was somewhat useless. Forget it. Anyway, there was still a year's time. She would take it one step at a time. The most important thing now was to get Xiaohua Garden back. From the looks of it, Yi Bingying was still quite favored. It definitely wouldn't work if she wanted it directly. She had to think of a way to save the country. Yun Chujo was in a difficult position as to how to bring up the matter of the residence when the godlike assistant, Min Shi, made a move. Grandfather, since little Jiu is registered under the name of our second branch as an aunt, I have to consider everything. Yesterday, little Jiu stayed at Binjia's place for an entire night. What do you think of little Jiu's residence? Min Shi said gently. Yun Chujo felt that this Min Shi was really on the right track. She was indeed worthy of being a comrade who had acted together with her. Old Master Yi thought for a moment. Lu Shi, help little Jiu pick a house. Compare the treatment to Bingying and Bingyu. Lu Shi agreed and felt proud in her heart. Little bitch, you actually dared to bully Bingying. Watch how I'll teach you a lesson. Great-grandfather, I usually stay in the academy. There's no need to prepare a house and maids for me alone. It's a waste. Yun Chujo said with a smile. Nonsense. Even if I stay for a day, the Yi family will still have your courtyard. Great-grandfather Yi glared at her. Yun Chujo sighed. Great-grandfather, to be honest, I actually want to live in Xiaohua Garden. Great-grandfather Yi frowned. This little 9 girl was really insatiable. Why was she so fixated on Xiaohua Garden? She really had no sense of propriety. Gu Shi and the others could not help but sneer in their hearts. This little bitch really took herself seriously? Could it be that she thought Old Master Yi would kick Bingying out and let her live in Xiaohua Garden? It was simply wishful thinking. Chapter 23:10 Ownership of Xiaohua Garden. At this moment, Yun Chujo continued, however, it would be unreasonable to chase Sister Bingying out because of me. Even though Xiaohua Garden was designed by my mother, even though every blade of grass and tree was planted by my mother, and even though you once said that Xiaohua Garden would always be kept for my mother, the rules are dead and people are alive, it's a waste to leave such a large courtyard empty. Old Master Yi's face was a little uncomfortable. He did say that Xiaohua Garden would always be kept for Yilan, and that even if Yilan got married, no one else would be allowed to live in it. However, after Yilan's accident and so many years had passed, Yi Bingying urged Gu Shi to let her live in it, so he did not say anything. However, now that Lan's daughter had returned, Xiaohua Garden should have let her live in it. It was just that it was a little awkward to kick Bingying out just like that. At this moment, Yun Chujo continued, Great-grandfather, am a reasonable person. Although Sister Bingying forcefully took over my mother's courtyard, I don't blame her. If she really likes Xiaohua Garden, I'll stay in the main house in the future and leave a side room for her. Anyway, I spend most of my time in Xingtian Academy, so I won't hold anything back. Great-grandfather, I don't have to argue with her. I haven't seen my mother before, so I want to see where my mother used to live. It can also be considered to be a reminder of her. Yun Chujia's tone became lower and lower, and in the end there was already a hint of crying. Hearing Yun Chujio say this, old Master Yi could not help but feel a little down, and the unhappiness in his heart also vanished into thin air. This child was a filial child, and since the land girl knew about it, it was time to console her. Yi Yuanliang had always felt guilty towards Yi Lan, but now hearing Yun Chujio say this, he said to old Master Yi, Father, Xiaohua Garden was originally Lan's courtyard. Now that little Jiu is back, she should be staying in Xiaohua Garden. Let Bingying choose another courtyard. Yi Bingying almost screamed. Grandfather was too biased. Although Xiaohua Garden was originally Aunt Lan's courtyard, she was married after all. That little bastard's surname was not Yi. She, Yi Bingying, was the proper eldest daughter of the Yi family. Yi Bingying bit her lips tightly and looked at old Master Yi. She did not believe that old Master Yi would be so biased. After all, the Yi family's reputation still depended on her. Old Master Yi frowned and felt some regret in his heart. It would have been better if he had not mentioned Xiaohua Garden back then. But now he had a great-granddaughter and a great-granddaughter. Who was going to live there? Yi Bingying saw that old Master Yi did not speak, and her heart was a little flustered. She stood up and said, Great-grandfather, I've been living in the main house of Xiaohua Garden all these years. I'm already used to cultivating there. It looks like next year will be the time for the Primordial Chaos sect to recruit disciples. If I suddenly change to another courtyard, it will definitely delay my cultivation. Yi Bingying's meaning was very clear. If she changed the room and changed the courtyard, it would affect her cultivation. Who knows, she might not be able to enter the Primordial Chaos sect. Hearing Yi Bingying's words, Yi Yuanliang, who was originally firm in his attitude, revealed a hesitant look. Entering the Primordial Chaos sect was a big matter. If it was really delayed because of changing courtyards, then it would really be a small loss. A smug look flashed across Yi Bingying's eyes. Bitch, you still want to fight with me? You're simply overestimating yourself. Do you think you're the Yi Lan from back then? You are just a waste. Chapter 23:11 Xiaohua Garden belonged to little Jiu. Old Master Yi frowned and looked at Yun Chujio. The meaning in his eyes was very clear. He hoped that she could put the big picture first and not compete with Yi Bingying for Xiaohua Garden for the time being. Yi Bingyu could not help but sigh in her heart. Although this Yun Chujio was full of bad ideas, Yi Bingying was going to enter the outer sect of the Primordial Chaos sect. There was an 80% chance that Yun Chujio would not have a chance. Just when everyone thought that Yun Chujio would know the difficulty and retreat, Yun Chujio said to Yi Bingying with a smile, Sister Bingying, it's not right for you to be like this. How can a cultivator be easily disturbed by the outside world? If you can't even withstand this little bit of interference, how are you going to pass the Primordial Chaos Sect's test? Originally, I wanted to let you stay in a side room in Xiaohua Garden. Now that I see you, you might as well move to another courtyard. Otherwise, won't you have no way to cultivate when you arrive at the Primordial Chaos Sect? The heavens really blessed me to return to the Yi family. Otherwise, Sister Bingying, your efforts will definitely go down the drain. You'd better quickly adjust your attitude. Otherwise, this Primordial Sect's test will be difficult to handle. Yi Bingying never dreamed that Yun Chujio would say such a heresy. For a moment she was actually speechless. Old Master Yi was stunned, but he was shrewd and experienced. He immediately understood that the last Bingying should have said an excuse just now, but this little ninth girl was too shrewd. She simply made a mistake and made her speechless. What little ninth lass said makes sense. Bingying, you're still too impetuous. I've said before that Xiaohua Garden is the long last blood and sweat. Even if she gets married, you have to keep it for her. Forget about the past. Bingying, you move out immediately. From now on, Xiaohua Garden is little ninth lass. Lu Shi, arrange another courtyard for Bingying and arrange it properly. Don't be afraid of spending money. The reason Old Master Yi added the last sentence was to appease Yi Bingying. Unfortunately, Yi Bingying did not appreciate it at all. Her eyes were red as she ran out with her hand covering her mouth. Great-grandfather Yi frowned. Although Bingying's aptitude was not bad, it was too smooth. She was actually thrown into disarray by such a small setback. It was truly too embarrassing to use. Not to mention compared to that last land from back then, even she could not compare to this little Jiu. It was really disappointing. Although Lu Shi resented Old Master Yi for being biased, she added, "Old Master, Bingying recently encountered a bottleneck in her cultivation, so she's unstable. Please don't blame her for being rude." Old Master Yi waved his hand. "All of you can leave. Yuanliang stay." Everyone bowed and took their leave. Only Yi Yuanliang stayed. "What do you think about today's matter?" Old Master Yi took a sip of tea and asked Yuanliang. "Little ninth girl has a sharp tongue and is quite intelligent. She is even smarter than Long girl, but her spiritual power is a little lower. Moreover, she has a heavenly lightning spiritual root. Although she hasn't been killed by Tian Dao, it's hard to say what will happen in the future. So even if she has some tricks, father, please bear with her." Although Yi Yuanliang wasn't as shrewd as the old master, he was still brought up by a first-class family, so he was still able to see things clearly. "You're right. Little Ninth is much more tactful than Little Lan back then. She can bend and stretch. It's probably because of her environment. I am really a little disappointed in Bingying. If it weren't for Little Ninth causing such a ruckus, I wouldn't have discovered that her personality is so impetuous. If she doesn't change, even if she enters the outer sect of the primordial chaos sect, she'll still suffer sooner or later. She might even implicate our Yi family," Old Master Yi said rather disappointedly. Chapter 23:12. Youth is fleeting, father, what you said makes sense. Then next, Yuanliang looked at Old Master Yi. "Let the little ninth girl sharpen the Ice Shadow Girl's character. If she grinds it well, then it's a treasured sword, unsheath it. If she grinds it badly, then it's a useless sword. Even if it's useless, it's still better than going to the primordial sect and implicating our Yi family in the future." Old Master Yi was the head of the Yi family. Naturally, he was decisive in killing. "Then what are your plans for the little ninth girl?" "Well, see first. If it's just some petty tricks, then just like Bingyu, we'll find a suitable family to marry in the future. If it's a good sword, I'll be unsheathed sooner or later," Old Master Yi said in a deep voice. Yi Yuanliang heaved a sigh of relief. He thought that Old Master Yi had other plans for bringing Yun Chuzhou back, but now that it seemed like it wasn't, he was finally relieved. Yi Bingying returned to Xiaohua Garden and threw a tantrum. At this moment, Lu Shi walked in through the curtain. "Bingying, what are you doing? There are plenty of ways to deal with that little bitch. Why are you so angry?" "Mother, I've never been treated like this. Not only did she make me lose face, she even chased me out of Xiaohua Garden. I wish I could kill her," Yi Bingying said viciously. "Silly girl, if you really kill her, both your great-grandfather and grandfather will be unhappy. Even if you enter the primordial chaos sect, don't you still have to rely on the Yi family for your cultivation resources? Offending them won't do you any good." Lu Shi pointed at Yi Bingying's forehead with her finger. "What are you doing?" she said reproachfully. "Mother, then let that little slut be so arrogant? I really can't take this lying down." Lu Shi smiled coldly. "If you want to harm someone, you don't necessarily have to kill her. That's the best way. Living a life worse than death is the worst. Besides, your grandmother hates that little slut to death, so she will naturally make a move. Let's just wait and watch the show." "No, Mother. Grandmother is grounded for 2 months. I can't take it anymore. If I don't teach that slut a lesson, I won't be able to calm down and cultivate. Mother, I know that you have the most ideas. Help me teach that bastard a lesson." Lu Shi was taken aback. She did not expect that bastard to become Bingying's inner demon. Indeed, Bingying had always been successful. She had never suffered such a huge loss. If the inner demon was not removed, there would definitely be shackles in her cultivation. It seemed like she had to think of a way to teach that bastard a lesson. "Bingying, don't bother about this matter. Just focus on your cultivation and leave it to Mother to handle." Lu Shi's eyes flickered with a cold light as she said to Yi Bingying. Yi Bingying nodded. She knew that her mother was a powerful person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have made her grandmother displeased with Min Shi. Lu Shi had just left when Yun Chujo dragged Yi Bingyu over. This person was narrow-minded. She was afraid that Yi Bingying would destroy Xiaohua Garden's things when she moved. This was her mother's hard work. She had to watch it with her own eyes before she could be at ease. Yi Bingying wished that she could kill her. Naturally, she would not talk to her. She only instructed her maid to start packing. Yun Chujo did not have the time to bother with Yi Bingying. She looked carefully at Xiaohua Garden and thought that it was indeed different from other courtyards. Not only was the area bigger, but the decorations were also quite exquisite. It could be seen that Yilan had put in a lot of effort in the past. What Yun Chujo liked the most was that there was actually a spirit peach forest in the southeast corner of the courtyard. It was the season when the flowers bloomed. The breeze blew over the petals and fell down. It really matched the name of Xiaohua Garden. Youth was fleeting. In such a short moment, Yun Chujo did not like the name of Xiaohua Garden. This name was too unlucky. No wonder her mother had already lost her virginity. No matter what, she had to change the name. The little black bird in the spiritual beast bag rolled its eyes. Xiao Hanio did not like other people's names. Her name might not be that weird. Chapter 2313 Naming Trash Ding. Naming Trash. A certain Joe officially went online. This courtyard is filled with spirit peach trees. Why don't we call it a peach garden? No, why did she think of the three sworn brothers of the peach garden? Why don't we call it a spirit fruit garden? It seemed a little vulgar and didn't seem like a place where people lived. Why don't we call it Little Joe Garden? No, it didn't sound good. A certain Joe still couldn't think of a name that she was satisfied with even after Yi Bingying had finished packing up her things. In the end, she gritted her teeth and decided not to change her name for the time being. She would only change her name after she thought of a good one. Yi Bingying saw Yun Chujo squatting beside the peach forest and mumbling to herself. Her eyes revealed a vicious glint. Back then, the mother of this little bitch had always been against Aunt Wan. A daughter of a concubine was even more pampered than a daughter of the first wife. Now this little bitch probably had the same idea as well. If she wanted to be more glorious than the real daughter of the first wife of the Yi family, well see. Yi Bingyu saw Yi Bingying's gaze and could not help but feel her heart tremble. This cousin of hers usually looked high and mighty, but in reality, she was incomparably vicious. She probably hated Yun Chujo. Yi Bingyu used the tip of her foot to touch Yun Chujo. Little Joe, Sister Bingying is leaving. Yun Chujo stood up and said with a smile, Sister Bingying, let's leave after lunch. Yi Bingying said coldly, Yun Chujo, don't be complacent. Well see. After Yi Bingying said that, she left with her maid. Yun Chujo curled her lips. Forget it if you don't want to eat. Looking at her resentful face affects your appetite. Yi Bingyu burst into laughter. Little Joe, your mouth is really mean. But your description is really apartment. However, Yi Bingyu has always been favored in the Yi family. This time she suffered a big setback. She will definitely not let this matter rest. You better be careful in the future. After the two of them had lunch, Min Shi arrived with a maid. Little Joe, I heard from Bingyu that you like to eat snacks. I asked the canteen to make some for you to bring back to the academy to eat, Min Shi said gently. Yun Chujo thanked her with a smile and kept the pastries into her storage ring. After Min Shi asked the maids to leave, she lowered her voice and said, Little Joe, since you have already been recorded under me and your second uncle's name, we will be a family in the future. I still have to remind you of some things. Don't think that I'm meddling. Yun Chujia's expression turned serious. Second aunt, my mother left early and am still young. Please give me some advice. Min Shi sighed in her heart. Although this little Joe was from a lower-class continent, she was truly a clever girl. She was able to see through everything with just a little bit of effort. She was much better than her daughter who was able to catch fire with just a little bit of effort. Little Joe, don't think that just because you have received the attention of the old master and your grandfather, you can truly be like a fish in water in the Yi family. After all, the old master and your grandfather are men. It's not good for them to always interfere in the matters of the inner residence. You are now a member of the Yi family. In the future, the Yi family will naturally be in charge of your marriage. If your mother-in-law and sister-in-law are dissatisfied with you, I'm afraid that they will definitely trip you up in the future. Moreover, your mother's family is the support of a woman. In the future, the Yi family will definitely be led by your first uncle. This is also the reason why I have been enduring them for so many years. Although these words from Min Shi had her own little thoughts, they also carried some sincerity. Yun Chujo smiled. Second aunt, I understand what you're saying. However, even if I don't cause any trouble and I just accept it, I'm afraid that Gushur won't be able to tolerate me. Although no one told me the details of the past, I'm afraid that my mother has made her lose face many times. Thus, I'm a thorn in her side. As for Yi Bingying, she was the one who occupied my mother's courtyard. In the morning she even wanted to make fun of me. I'm a person. I won't offend others unless they offend me. If they offend me, I'm never afraid of trouble. Chapter 23:14. Dead end. When Min Shi heard Yun Chujo say this, she sighed. You're right. It's just that if you put up with it a little, perhaps they're just torturing you and won't have the intention to kill you. I'm afraid they already have the intention to kill you now. Second aunt, there are some things that can't be put up with. You've put up with it for so many years. What's the result? Didn't Gushur still bully you for no reason? If you don't have the right to speak, I'm afraid that in the future, little sister Binji's marriage will still be in their hands. Second aunt, are you willing? Min Shi's expression suddenly changed. Old master and father-in-law won't allow them to do whatever they want. Yun Chujo sneered. Second aunt, you're a smart person. Just like you told me just now, great-grandfather and the others are men. They won't consider everything thoroughly. It was too easy for Ji Shi to use a little trick. If it was already done, great-grandfather wouldn't say anything even if he knew that Sister Bingyu was married to a man. He would do it for the benefit of the Yi family. The mother and daughter could only swallow their anger. If Sister Binji's marriage could be exchanged for a certain amount of benefits and help Yi Bingying gain a better foothold in the primordial chaos sect, who do you think great-grandfather would help? Min Shi's face was deathly pale. Although she had always lied to herself, as long as she endured Gushur's torture, she would not make things difficult for Bingyu. However, Yun Chujo's words had punctured her delusion. She knew that what Yun Chujo said was true. Back then Yilan was so favored. In the end, didn't he still agree to the Fan family's marriage without her consent? If Yi Binji's marriage could really help Yi Bingying gain a foothold in the primordial chaos sect, Old Master Yi would definitely abandon Yi Bingyu. Yi Bingyu saw that the Min Shi's face was deathly pale and glared at Yun Chujo. Don't scare my mother. I'm not dead. When the time comes I won't agree. Don't tell me you're really going to kidnap me? Yun Chujo was angry and happy. This Yi Bingyu was really naive. In a sense, Yun Chujo really envied her. The reason why she was so heartless was because the Min Shi protected her too well. Sister Bingyu, when the time comes, I won't kidnap you. But I will make second uncle divorce second aunt to blackmail you. Moreover, maybe Gushur will think of some sinister methods to force you to submit, such as cooking cooked rice and the like. Although Yi Bingyu still said that she wouldn't, she already believed it in her heart. If Gushur really used the Min Shi to blackmail her, she would definitely obediently get married. For a moment, the mother and daughter of the Min Shi fell into a state of panic. Yun Chujo sipped her tea and didn't speak. After a long while, the Min Shi gritted her teeth. Little Joe, tell second aunt. Do you have a way to solve this predicament? Yun Chujo put down her teacup. She said with a smile, second aunt, this is indeed a dead end. The eldest son has a legitimate son. Furthermore, cousin Wen Hong can be considered a qualified heir. Therefore, in the future, the Yi family will most likely be the eldest son. Since the eldest son is in charge, then eldest aunt and Yi Bingying will naturally be full of confidence. They won't show mercy when they exchange our second son for benefits. Yi Bingyu was anxious. Aren't you talking nonsense? Mother, she only knows how to talk. If you can't think of a way, what can she do? Min Shi waved her hand. Little Joe, second aunt knows that you're smart. Since you pointed it out, there must be a way to solve it. As long as you help second aunt solve this dead end, second aunt will treat you as her own child in the future. Chapter 23:15 was not reliable. Yun Chujo knew that the Min Shi was planning to surrender, but this was far from enough. Only common interests were the most stable alliance. Second aunt, there is only one way to break this deadlock. That is to make Sister Binji's value greater than Yi Bingying's. This way, great-grandfather and the others will naturally not allow Gushur to do whatever she wants. Yi Binji's eyes were originally wide open as she listened. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, she was instantly discouraged. This is the same as not saying anything. I still have self-awareness. My aptitude is far inferior to Yi Bingying's. How can I be better than her? Not to mention the outer sect of the primordial chaos sect, I can't even pass for a handyman. As long as you listen to me, I can guarantee that you can pass for the primordial chaos sect. Although I can't guarantee that you'll be an inner sect disciple, the outer sect will still have no problems, Yun Chujo said shamelessly. This fellow had always had this kind of mysterious confidence. No matter what, forming an alliance first was more important. Otherwise, she would be too easily schemed against by the Yi family. Minshur was a shrewd person. With this spy she could save a lot of trouble. Yi Bingyu simply scoffed. Forget it. You're already boasting to the heavens. What kind of place do you think the primordial chaos sect is? Not to mention us, even the top few on the Academy's ranking list would be lucky to be able to get into the outer sect. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. In any case, I feel that other than this method, there is no other way to break the deadlock. Even if second aunt gave birth to a younger cousin for me, she would still not be able to beat Big Fong. Minshur's face turned red. She thought to herself that this little Jiu was really outspoken. What she said was not too reliable. Although Binji's aptitude was not bad, she could not be compared to Yi Bingying. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens if she wanted to be admitted into the primordial chaos sect. Yun Chujo saw that Minshur lowered her head and did not speak. She decided to add fuel to the fire. Second aunt, I know that you think that I'm just spouting nonsense. This primordial chaos sect's entrance test doesn't have a spiritual power level, right? I'm only at the first level of the Lingxian realm, but didn't I also get into Xingtian Academy? This entrance test relies on my brain. Besides, it doesn't matter if I go and try. In any case, next year will be the time for the primordial chaos sect's entrance test. You can take your time to think about it. There's no rush. Minshur thought about it and it made sense. Anyway, there was still a year's time. Perhaps she could find another good method during this period. Fortunately, in the immortal Yuan East continent, women were married at a relatively late age. For the time being, Gushur would not have any ideas about Binji's marriage. The three of them chatted for a while more before Minshur and Yi Bingyu left. Although Lushur hated Yun Chujo to the core, she still managed to keep up appearances. Not only did she send over brand new daily necessities, but she also sent 4 maids and 2 old ladies to Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo was not stupid. She knew that these people must be Lushur's people. However, she was going back to the academy the next day, so she was too lazy to waste time with them. Yun Chujo looked at every room. Even the side rooms were exquisitely designed. It could be seen that Yilan had put in a lot of effort in the past. Yun Chujo lay on the bed. It was the first time she felt so close to her mother. Although her mother had lived in the Mo family's old mansion for some reason, she felt that this place was more intimate. Perhaps it was because Yilan had lived here for a longer time. In the afternoon, Yi Bingyu accompanied Yun Chujo around Yi City. Yun Chujo bought some food and small items to give to Jinji and Xue Wuji after she went back. At night, Yun Chujo was on high alert. She deliberately let Xiaohei stay up at night, afraid that the maids and women would do something bad. However, she did not expect that the night was peaceful and nothing happened. Chapter 23:16. Little Zhou was burned to ashes early the next morning. Yun Chujo, Yi Bingyu, and Yi Wenhong bid farewell to the Yi family. Housekeeper Fu escorted them back to Tianluo City. Yun Chujo felt uneasy. She felt that Gushur and Lu Shur should not be so quiet. What exactly were they planning? At this moment, in the room of Lu Shur, the eldest son of the Yi family, Yi Bingying was complaining. One mother. Didn't you say that you wanted to help me vent my anger? That little bitch has already left. How can I vent my anger? You lied to me. Silly girl, if we make a move in the Yi family, will we be able to hide it from your great-grandfather? When that time comes, it won't be good if we are found out. Lu Shur said with a reproachful tone. Mother, will we let that little bitch off so easily? Yi Bingying gnashed her teeth and asked. HMPH, she caused you to be unable to concentrate on your cultivation, so naturally she won't let her off so easily. Don't worry. Mother has already made arrangements. Very soon you'll be able to receive news of her death. Lu Shur said viciously. It was just a little bitch. If she was killed, then so be it. It was likely that old Master Yi wouldn't pursue the matter to the end. A trace of pleasant surprise flashed past Yi Bingying's eyes. Mother, what do you plan to do? Mother has arranged for manpower in Xingtian Academy. It's extremely easy for a student to have an accident, and it's impossible for them to trace it back to us. A little bastard still wants to compete with my Bingying for the favor. He's simply courting death. No one had expected that 6 hours later, Yi Bingyu and the others would return and bring back a piece of shocking news. Yun Chuzhou was dead. Great-grandfather Little Zhou was burned to ashes. Yi Bingyi's eyes were red and swollen. Only now did she realize that she did not hate Yun Chuzhou that much. Otherwise, why would she be so sad? What happened? Great-grandfather Yes' face was livid. Why was he still alive and kicking in the morning, but now he had turned into ashes? Yi Bingyu cried as she spoke. Only then did everyone know what had happened. In the morning, after the flying spiritual device took off, Yi Wenhong cultivated and meditated at the side. Yun Chuzhou and Yi Bingyu drank tea and chatted. The atmosphere was much more cordial compared to when they first arrived. Housekeeper Fu was afraid that Yun Chuzhou would come up with some evil plan to torment him, so he hid far away in the cockpit. After about 2 hours, Yun Chuzhou felt her right palm begin to heat up. She could not help but feel a little nervous. What was this little flame trying to do again? There were too many people and too many eyes. Wouldn't she be exposed? Just as Yun Chuzhou was thinking about it, she felt a strong desire in her mind. Get out! Get out! Get out quickly! Although no one said anything, Yun Chuzhou could feel that this was the will of the little flame. Yun Chuzhou stretched her neck and looked through the observation window. There was an undulating mountain range below. Why did this damn little flame have to go out? Could it be that there was also a 1,000-year-old fire marrow down there? Yun Chuzhou remembered the promise she had made to the little flame. She rolled her eyes and walked to the cockpit. She said to Housekeeper Fu, I must have eaten something bad. Can you land for a while? It's convenient for me. Yun Chuzhou said it very calmly, which made Housekeeper Fu blush. He stammered, yes. But miss, I'm afraid it's not easy to land without a flat place down here. It's okay. I'll ride my sword and go down. You guys slow down. I'll catch up with you later. Yun Chuzhou had this idea in mind. If she didn't leave them alone, how could the little flame do anything bad? Housekeeper Fu could only nod in agreement and open the cabin door of the flying spirit tool. Soon something unexpected happened. Chapter 23 17 Flames fighting in a group after Housekeeper Fu opened the cabin door. Yun Chuzhou summoned a large chopping board and flew down from it. Housekeeper Fu and the others were all dumbfounded. Others were riding swords, but this person was actually riding a large chopping board. He was really a foodie. Just as everyone was complaining, they suddenly discovered that a mountain peak below was actually spewing out thick flames. It was actually a volcano that had erupted. The worst part was that they discovered that Yun Chuzhou had fallen headfirst and was instantly engulfed by the flames. Before everyone could react, that mountain had strangely sealed itself again. Other than the lava on the ground and the trees that had already turned into nothingness, it was as if everything that had happened just now was just an illusion. Housekeeper Fu sat down on the ground. It was over, Cousin Miss was dead for sure. Such a fierce flame, and it was the earth core fire that erupted from underground. Unless it was a mighty figure of the primordial chaos sect, he was dead for sure. Moreover, the mountain peak had already been sealed off. There was no chance of survival at all. Although they knew that the hope was slim, they still waited for another hour. They even circled around a few times to check, but they still found nothing. They could only return to the Yi residence. After such a big incident, Yi Bingyu and Yi Wenhong had no choice but to follow them back. They could just ask for leave from the academy. When Yi Yuanliang heard housekeeper fuss words, he immediately sat down on the chair. If he had known earlier, he would have refused to acknowledge little Jiu. But now not even a corpse was left behind. Yi Bingying sneered in her heart. Damn it! If he was burned by the earth core fire, then his soul and spirit would be destroyed. He would not even be able to reincarnate. This was karma. Sigh. Let's prepare the funeral for little Jiu. Old Master Yi let out a long sigh. This was fate. If she did not continue shouting, how could such a thing happen? She could only blame her bad luck. Lu Shi agreed. She thought to herself that she would definitely make that bastard's funeral a glorious one, and let her and her dead mother reunite in the underground. Achoo! Achoo! Fuck, who's scolding me? Little Flame, put in more effort. I'll support you spiritually. A certain Jiu was happily watching the flames fighting in a group in the belly of the mountain. The little flame was fighting 1 against 10, and was surrounded by 10 flames. The level of those 10 flames was obviously much lower than the little flame. Not only were their colors not as beautiful as the little flame, but their mobility was also much lower. However, there were many of them, so the small flame would not be able to win for a while. Small flame, if you can't win, you'll be letting me down. If I didn't have the fire-repelling pearl, I would have been burnt to ashes. What are you waiting for? Charge! Charge! Your strength has increased, so you can help me crush the scum. Yun Chujiu shouted at the side to cheer for her son. Perhaps it was because of Yun Chujiu's urging. The small flame suddenly launched an attack and rushed towards a cluster of flames. Yun Chujiu opened her eyes wide in curiosity. She saw that the small flame had wrapped around the cluster of flames. Naturally, the cluster of flames was unwilling to be swallowed and kept struggling. The other flames also pounced towards the small flame. Yun Chujiu felt that she had to do something. Otherwise, the small flame might not be able to hold on. Yun Chujiu raised her hand, and several piglets of spiritual power pounced on the flames. Although they were not of much use, they could at least hold them back and buy some time for the small flames. With Yun Chujiu's cooperation, the small flames spent more than 20 hours before they finally swallowed all 10 clusters of flames. Then they lazily drilled into Yun Chujiu's right palm. As the 10 clusters of flames disappeared, the flames in the belly of the mountain were all extinguished. The rocks that had been roasted until they were red emitted a faint light, so the visibility in the belly of the mountain was not bad. Damn it! You don't care whether you eat or bury them. How are you going to get out now? Yun Chujiu complained. Chapter 23 18 Fire-eating Xiao. Although Xiao He could dig holes, the inside of the mountain was burning hot. If Xiao He were to be released, it would be burned into charcoal. In a few days, the temperature in the mountain would not drop. How could they get out? Yun Chujiu wanted to use the sudden rupture talisman, but she was worried that if she did not control it well, she would be the unlucky person who buried herself alive. Yun Chujiu could only take out a rolling pin and knock around, wanting to see where it was weaker. Then she used a small needle of spiritual power to try. After all, the accuracy of the small needle of spiritual power was higher. When Yun Chujiu was knocking around, she strangely discovered that the sound of knocking could also be heard from the other side of the rock wall. Could it be that there was still a living creature on the other side of the rock wall? Yun Chujiu did not think that this was good news. She was basically at the bottom of the Immortal Essence East Continent. If she were to encounter a cultivator with high spiritual power or a high-level demon beast, it would be simply courting death. Yun Chujiu did not dare to knock anymore. She did not expect that the knocking sounds outside were becoming more and more frequent. There was even the sound of rocks falling. It seemed to be the sound of something's claws scratching the rocks. Yun Chujiu's head buzzed. It must be a demon beast. And it was a high-level fire-type demon beast. She wanted to run, but where could it run to in the mountain? The creature gritted its teeth and hid behind a protruding rock. It secretly put on a gas mask. Fuck, when that thing showed its head, it would greet it with chili flour and then blow it to death with a small needle of spiritual energy. Not long after, a basin-sized hole appeared in the rock wall. A demon beast's claw reached in. Yun Chujiu saw that the claw was covered with fiery red long fur under the dim light. Yun Chujiu couldn't help but complain in her heart. The claw was as big as a basin. This demon beast's size was definitely not small. Along with the sound of the rock falling, the hole became bigger and bigger. A huge demon beast's head poked in. Yun Chujia's eyes narrowed. She finally recognized the species of this demon beast. It was actually a level 45 fire-eating Xiao. Yun Chujio counted with her fingers. Level 45 was equivalent to the 5th to 6th level of the spiritual space of a human cultivator. Fuck, it was really deadly. One fire-eating Xiao often appeared near volcanoes. Their food was the rocks that were burned by the Earth's core fire. This fire-eating Xiao must have sensed the abnormality in the belly of the mountain and wanted to come in to investigate. Although the fire-eating Xiao's main food was the rocks that were burned by the Earth's core fire, it did not mean that it did not eat humans. Perhaps it wanted to change its taste today. Moreover, Yun Chujio had already absorbed all the flames that it relied on to survive. It would be strange if it did not kill her. Although the fire-eating Xiao's huge head had entered, its body parts were still stuck in the hole. It was obvious that it was too impatient and wanted to poke its head in to see what was going on. Yun Chujio knew that this was the only chance for her to win. She suddenly jumped forward and sprinkled the chili dough in her hand at the fire-eating Xiao. She also shot a small purple needle at the fire-eating Xiao's 7 orifices. Yun Chujio thought that she would succeed in her sneak attack. However, she did not expect that although the chili dough was effective, the effect of the small needle of spiritual power was very limited. After the explosion, it did not cause any damage to the fire-eating Xiao. However, it angered the fire-eating Xiao. It used its claws to expand the hole and jumped in. Yun Chujio was so scared that she quickly threw another big bag of chili dough. However, this time the fire-eating Xiao was prepared. The long hair on its neck suddenly expanded and covered its head. Moreover, it spat a huge ball of fire at Yun Chujio. Chapter 23:19. Curly Hair's fire-eating Xiao. Yun Chujio was overjoyed. Big sister has the fire-repelling pearl, so why would she be afraid of your broken fireball? However, this fireball was too big, and it would cause internal injuries if it hit the body, so it was better to avoid it. Fire-eating Xiao also discovered that Yun Chujio was not afraid of fire. But that was also true. This stinky girl was hiding in the belly of the mountain, so she was definitely not afraid of fire. Perhaps the fire marrow was stolen by her. She really deserved to die. Although Yun Chujio was not afraid of fire, she still needed to move around to avoid the fireball. Moreover, this fire-eating Xiao's body was extremely strong. Its sharp claws and barbed tail had great lethality. In addition, the ground in the belly of the mountain was uneven, so it did not matter if she had 4 legs. However, a certain Zhou with 2 legs had suffered, and she would stumble from time to time. Yun Chujio felt that the best plan for now was to escape 36 times. She had already felt it. The wind that blew in from the cave entrance was cold. She guessed that she would be outside once she got out. As long as she sat on the chopping board outside, she would be able to escape. The key was how to escape. Yun Chujio had thought of using the small flame to attack, but since the fire-eating Xiao dared to break into the mountain, the small flame's damage to it was probably limited. Moreover, if the small flame was exposed, it might bring even greater trouble. It seemed like she could only use the little blackbird's curse. However, she had to calculate the timing and location well. There was only one chance, so she could not make the slightest mistake. In fact, this fellow had the jade token given to her by D-Biming, and the golden light sky umbrella given to her by Old Master Yi. It could withstand 2 attacks from the fire-eating Xiao. However, this fellow was a money grubber. She was reluctant to use it as a last resort. This was a life-saving item. I say, little cat, how old are you? Why are you so weak? Yun Chujio said with a smile. The fire-eating Xiao roared a few times. You are the fucking cat. You are the weak one. You little weakling. Yun Chujio kept chattering non-stop. The fire-eating Xiao was getting more and more irritable. A glimmer of light flashed in Yun Chujio's eyes. It was now. The fire-eating Xiao suddenly stumbled. Immediately after, a large sack of chili was thrown at it. The fire-eating Xiao used its long hair to protect its eyes, but it also gave Yun Chujio time to escape. Yun Chujio suddenly jumped out of the hole. She couldn't help but be happy. She had really reached the outside. This fellow quickly called out the chopping board and sat on it. When it flew more than 100 feet high, the fire-eating Shio jumped out. Yun Chujo curled the corner of her mouth and threw a large pile of super-grade burst talismans at the fire-eating Shio. Although she knew that these burst talismans could not kill the fire-eating Shio, it was not a bad thing to disgust it. The sound of explosions and the fire-eating Shio's angry roar could be heard continuously from below. Yun Chujo shouted to the people below, "Little cat, big sister is leaving. We will meet again in the future." Just as Yun Chujo was showing off, she suddenly felt goosebumps all over her body. She saw two huge demonic birds flying towards her from afar. Damn it! She was not amongst flesh, how could she be so unlucky? When she was flying on the spiritual artifact, she did not see any demonic birds attacking her. Yun Chujo looked again and saw that the demonic birds had 3 eyes and their tails were purple. She was so angry that she wanted to hit the wall. These two were also level 45 demonic birds, 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles. Fuck. She was dead for sure. One of them might be able to command the chopping board to escape, but if there were 2 of them, how could they survive? Yun Chujo weighed the pros and cons and could only land bitterly. She waved her claws at the fire-eating Shio who had been blown up into curly hair. "Hi, we meet again. What a coincidence." Chapter 23:20. Turning them into roasted chickens. Fire-eating Shio was absolutely furious. What a coincidence. Damned little weakling. My beautiful long fur has now turned into curly fur. I must eat you today. Kitten, don't eat me first. Look at the sky. Yun Chujo pointed at the sky with her hand. 2 huge 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles had already flown over. Fire-eating Shio's pupils shrank. If it was a 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle, it wouldn't be afraid. But if there were 2, it didn't have much of a chance of winning. If it wasn't careful, it would lose its life. "Little cat, how about we make a deal? How about we work together to kill those 2 little birds?" Yun Chujo said with a smile. This mountain range spanned hundreds of li. There might be some high-level demon beasts. If she wanted to leave, she could only walk from the sky. If the 2 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles didn't die, she wouldn't be able to leave. Fire-eating Shio snorted in disdain. Its meaning was self-evident. "You little weakling, you still want to form an alliance with me? What use are you?" Yun Chujo lowered her voice. "I know what you're thinking. It's because I'm weak, that's why I'm useful. Later, when the fight starts, pretend to be seriously injured and hide in the cave. It'll lure the 2 silly birds in. Well, turn them into roasted chickens." Fire-eating Shio rolled its eyes. Since it didn't have anything to do with it, it would just agree with her. She wouldn't dare to play any tricks. Just as they finished their discussion, the 2 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles swooped down and clawed at Yun Chujo and fire-eating Shio. Yun Chujo threw a stack of super-grade burst talismans at the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles. Anyway, there were plenty of these things so they could be treated as firecrackers. Fire-eating Shio, on the other hand, roared repeatedly and spat out a large fireball at one of the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condor. The 2 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condor dodged while wondering, how did this fire-eating Shio get together with a weak human chicken? Could it be that the fire-eating Shio was subdued by this weak human chicken? How was this possible? No matter what, this fire-eating Shio usually hid in the cave. It was not easy for it to come out today, so this was a once-in-lifetime opportunity. Its meat was much better than those low-level demon beasts, and its inner core could also increase spiritual power. As for that human girl's tender skin and flesh, she would treat it as a small snack before dinner. After Yun Chujo threw a pile of talismans, she exclaimed, "Oh my god, the talismans are used up, and my internal injuries have relapsed. I can't take it anymore, I'm leaving." After Yun Chujo said that, she slipped into the cave. Fire-eating Shio was so angry that it almost fainted. It was supposed to pretend to be heavily injured, but she was the bait to lure the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. Now it was her pretending to be injured, and it had become the bait? Humans were too cunning. Although the fire-eating Shio was furious, it could only retreat as it fought. Coincidentally, one of the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's claws scratched a hole in its body. It let out a blood-curdling scream and retreated into the cave. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles looked at each other. There was an earth flame in the cave, so they could only return empty-handed. At this moment, the voice of the little human girl came from inside. "Woo-woo, little cat, why are you bleeding so much? If you die, what will happen to me? The earth flame in here has been extinguished. If those two ugly birds come in, I'm dead for sure." The eyes of the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles shone with surprise. The earth flame had been extinguished. That's right, if the core fire hadn't been extinguished, wouldn't that little human girl have turned into ashes long ago? This was a once-in-lifetime opportunity. That fire-eating show was already heavily injured, so that little girl wasn't even worth mentioning. As long as she entered, the delicious food would be in her mouth. Chapter 23-21 Eye of Enchantment. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors looked at each other and went into the belly of the mountain one after the other. The temperature in the belly of the mountain was still very high. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors were obviously not used to it. If it were not for their high level of spiritual power, they would have become roasted chickens long ago. However, humans died for money and birds died for food. They saw the fire-eating show lying on the ground in the distance without moving, and the little girl was crying her eyes out. They were overjoyed. It seemed that the fire-eating show no longer had any ability to resist. That weak human chick was not even worth mentioning. It would be able to kill them very soon. When the time came, they would just bring out the corpse and eat it. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles thought of this and quickly pounced towards Yun Chujo and the fire-eating show. At this moment, the little girl with tears on her face threw two big sacks at them. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles subconsciously used their sharp claws to grab the big sacks. How tragic! With a boom, the chili inside the gunny sacks flew in all directions. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles choked so hard that they couldn't open their eyes. Yun Chujo had already put on her gas mask, while the fire-eating show used the long hair on its neck to protect its head. At the same time, a human and a beast launched an attack at the same time. Fire-eating show threw a huge fireball at one of the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles, while Yun Chujo used a high-level physical transformation spell to release the little piglet of spiritual power. Fire-eating show could not help but be distracted. Previously, when this weak human chick fought with me, it did not release this thing, so this piglet was probably useless. However, it was surprised to find that the spiritual piglets were quite agile. The strangest thing was that when the spiritual piglets were about to dissipate, they actually gathered into a purple spiritual piglet. It fiercely pounced on the neck of the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condor and began to bite. The three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condor shook its head with all its might, but it was useless. It could only use its claws to pull the purple piglet. This way its attack power was greatly reduced. Fire-eating show was dumbfounded. It did not expect that the little weakling still had some skills. Although the purple spiritual energy piglet's attack power was not very strong, it was really difficult to deal with. At this moment, Yun Chujo shouted at fire-eating show, "You silly cat! What are you waiting for? Stick to the original plan." Fire-eating show was scolded until it was dumbfounded. However, it still followed the previous agreement and blocked the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles with 1-2. Although it was on the same level as the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles, it still had an advantage on the ground. Moreover, the temperature in the belly of the mountain was extremely high. The strength of the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles was greatly reduced. Yun Chujo took advantage of this time to run to the entrance of the cave. She took out a pile of big rocks from her storage ring and blocked the entrance of the cave tightly, so that the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors would not run out, or perhaps other demon beasts would run in. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors only realized that they had been tricked at this moment. It turned out that all of this was planned by the little weakling and the fire-eating show. It was really detestable. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors exchanged glances with each other. The eye above their heads was emitting a purple glow. The three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condor's innate ability was the Eye of Enchantment. However, every time they used it, they would have to expend a huge amount of spiritual power. Therefore, the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors rarely used it lightly. Fire-eating Xiu's gaze could not help but become somewhat unfocused, and its movements became much slower. When the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed condors saw this, they were overjoyed. Although they had expended a lot of spiritual power, it was still worth it. Chapter 23-22 took advantage of them just as the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles were feeling smug. They strangely discovered that the little human chicken was still alive and kicking. It even muttered, "Eye of enchantment? Tsk, that's all it is." Yun Chujo shot a few purple needles at the fire-eating Xiu. "You silly cat, don't look at their eyes." The pain woke the fire-eating Xiu up. It did not bother to settle the score with Yun Chujo and started fighting with the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles again. The two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles used a lot of spiritual power to use the Eye of Enchantment and soon fell into a disadvantageous position. 2 hours later, Yun Chujo and the fire-eating Xiu finally killed the two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles. However, the man and the beast were so tired that they were panting and collapsed on the ground. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes. This fire-eating Xiu was not a good thing. She had to retreat quickly. Otherwise, if this damn fire-eating Xiu recovered, it might eat her as well. Yun Chujo forced herself to stand up and put the stone at the entrance of the cave into her storage ring. She rolled her eyes and turned back. The fire-eating Xiu initially thought that Yun Chujo was trying to escape. It was too tired, so it was too lazy to chase after her. Now that Yun Chujo had returned, it could not help but stare at Yun Chujo suspiciously. What was this little weakling trying to do? Could it be that she wanted to kill me? She was really courting death. Yun Chujo giggled at the fire-eating Xiu. The fire-eating Xiu was dumbfounded. Why was this little weakling laughing? Just as the fire-eating Xiu was confused, it saw Yun Chujo put the corpse of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle into her storage ring and then jumped out. Before the fire-eating Xiu could react, it heard a clear voice coming from outside. "Kitten, no matter what, we work together to kill these two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles. It's only right for me to take one. I'm leaving. We'll never see each other again." Fire-eating Xiu gritted its teeth in anger and suddenly jumped out of the cave. Yun Chujo had already flown into the air and was winking at it. How arrogant was she? Fire-eating Xiu roared in anger. "Damn little weakling. Unless we can't see each other again in the future, I'll definitely kill you." Yun Chujo was in a good mood. Not only did she escape death, but she also gained a huge advantage. Awesome! It was only then that she realized that the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring was vibrating non-stop. She could not help but pat her thigh. The voice transmission talisman in the belly of the mountain should not be useful, and she was too nervous to notice it just now. It had already been a day and a night since she fell into the belly of the mountain. It was already the morning of the second day. Jinji must have been worried sick when she realized that she had not returned to Xingtian Academy. She would definitely send a voice transmission talisman to Enfeng. If Enfeng knew, the gigolo would know as well. Sure enough, several voice transmission talismans in the storage ring were trembling non-stop. Dibimings, Enfengs, Shuewujis, and Jinjis. Yun Chujo quickly replied to them one by one, stating that she had already escaped danger. She would return to the Yi family first before returning to the academy. As for Xingtian Academy, there was still the Yi family, so she naturally didn't have to worry. Yun Chujo could not help but curse in her heart. The management of the Xingtian Academy and the WA Stone Academy was actually not strict. It was much easier to apply for leave than the Tianyuan Academy. Moreover, a first-class family could obtain special privileges with a little pressure. No wonder after so many years, the two academies had only managed to reach the same level of strength as a first-class sect. There was simply no way for them to compare to a super sect like the Primordial Chaos Sect. Yun Chujo summoned her flying spirit tool and flew towards Yi City. She calculated in her heart and naturally, she could not tell the truth. However, she had to be able to explain it. After all, housekeeper Fu and the others should have seen her fall into the belly of the mountain. Chapter 23 Yoon Chuji's funeral. At this moment, the entire Yi family was in a state of silence. With such a big incident, the grounding of the gusher was no longer necessary. However, the power of the housekeeper was still in the hands of the Lu Shi. It was the first time that the Lu Shi was in power. Naturally, she wanted to show off, so she was very efficient. Not only had she finished purchasing all the funeral supplies, but she had also sent people to send letters to the various families yesterday afternoon. As for the cause of Yoon Chuji's death, it could not be said that she had died from the fire because she wanted to be convenient. If she were to say that, it would probably make people laugh their heads off. The Yi family's explanation to the public was that on the way back to Tianyuan Academy, Yoon Chujo suddenly suffered from a bad illness and died instantly. She was merely a young lady who had yet to be married. No one from the other families would investigate the true cause of her death. Some of the clans that were close to her had already arrived at the Yi residence to pay their respects. The relationships between the various large clans were deeply intertwined. Moreover, the Yi clan was considered to be one of the top-tier clans. Hence, the other clans naturally would not neglect them. Yoon Chuji's corpse was nowhere to be found. Lu Shi simply placed an empty coffin in the spirit shed. She was very pleased in her heart. Although this Yoon Chujo was detestable, it had to be said that her death had really fulfilled her wish. The people who came and went were all influential figures from various clans. The male guests were greeted by Yi Yuanliang and the others, so she was naturally the one to greet the female guests. This was a good opportunity to build a closer relationship. Yi Bingying followed behind Lu Shi with a mournful expression on her face. She was constantly praised by the various madams. Her appearance, character, and aptitude were all praises. In short, some madams even revealed the intention of marrying. Next year will be the year when the Hunyuan sect opens to recruit disciples. Bingying has to apply for the exam. To be honest, as her mother, I really can't bear to part with her. But I can't let her future be delayed just because I can't bear to part with her. Lu Shi sighed and said. Lu Shi's words naturally caused all the madams to praise Yi Bingying again. If it weren't for the funeral at home, Lu Shi and her mother would probably be overjoyed. This kind of public display naturally had nothing to do with Min Shi and Yi Bingyu. The two of them were just decorations in the spirit shed. Yi Bingyi's eyes were red. She was really a little sad when she saw the coffin. Although she wished she could kill Yoon Chujo in the past, she felt very sad in her heart now. Min Shi also didn't feel too good. She was different from Yi Bingyu. The reason why she felt sad was because Yoon Chujo was dead. Who would help the second branch break the deadlock in the future? It was not easy for a troublemaker to come, but he actually died just like that. Could this be the will of heaven? After Yoon Chujo, who was already dead, entered Yi City, she discovered that there seemed to be a lot of people walking towards the Yi family. She could not help but be puzzled. Could these people all be going to the Yi family? Yoon Chujo wandered to the front door of the Yi residence. From afar, she could see the servants coming in and out of the Yi residence wearing mourning clothes. The front door of the Yi residence was also covered in white, and the faint sound of Swona playing mournful music could be heard. Yoon Chujo was stunned at first. Then she clutched her stomach and squatted on the ground. This fellow almost laughed out loud. Damn! Could it be that the Yi family was holding her funeral? This fellow rubbed his chin and thought about it. However, it was also true. If an ordinary person fell into the volcano, they would naturally have a slim chance of survival. No wonder the Yi family thought that she was already dead. From the looks of it, there were quite a number of people coming. Tiske, I didn't expect her funeral to be so grand. This fellow took a few steps forward, wanting to return to the Yi residence. After some thought, she stopped in her tracks. This funeral was a good opportunity to see everyone's true colors. Moreover, her sudden appearance might catch the Yi family off guard. It was better to sneak in first and act according to the circumstances. Chapter 23-24 Attending her funeral. After making up her mind, she hid in a quiet corner and took out a disguise pill. She carefully cut off a small piece and stuffed it into her mouth. This disguise pill could change her appearance for 10 days. She only took 1/10 of it, which meant that she could change her appearance for a day. She found another inn and changed into a set of moon-white clothes. Then, she went outside the Yi residence and followed a group of mourners into the Yi residence. Normally, Yoon Chujio would not be able to sneak in. However, it was an emergency period now. This guy was also a good actor. He did not look guilty at all. The guards of the Yi residence all thought that she was a maid of some lady, therefore, they did not interrogate her. It was even easier when she entered the Yi residence. There were a lot of people coming and going. The Li family thought that she was a maid of the Zhang family, while the Zhang family thought that she was a maid of the Wang family. Therefore, Yoon Chujio was not worried that her identity would be exposed. Yoon Chujio followed everyone to the spirit shed. When she saw the coffin that was parked there, the corners of her eyes could not help but twitch. She was probably the only one who would attend her funeral. Yoon Chujio saw that Yi Binji's eyes were red. She thought to herself, at least this idiot has a conscience. I should not bully her a few times in the future. Just as Yoon Chujio was secretly thinking about it, she heard a Madame and Lu Shi talking in a low voice. Madame Lu, as far as I know, isn't there only one young lady in the Yi family's second branch? What happened to the third young lady of the Yi family who passed away this time? When the lady asked this question, the other ladies also gathered around. They were obviously very curious as well. Originally, great-grandfather Yi wanted to find an opportunity to formally introduce Yoon Chujio to everyone. Who would have thought that she would die just like that? Therefore, many people were very curious about the deceased third lady of the Yi family. This, to tell you the truth, the one who passed away this time was Sister Lan's daughter. Previously, she had been living in a low-level continent. Not long ago, she was brought to the Western continent by the Mo family. Recently, she was brought to the Eastern continent. My great-grandfather pitied her for losing her mother at such a young age. Moreover, she was living a difficult life, so a few days ago he registered her under the second son's name. Who would have thought that she died yesterday? Lu Shi pretended to wipe away her non-existent tears. Yoon Chujio's eyes deepened. This Lu Shi really hated her to the bone. She was already dead now, yet she still wanted to bully her. There was no need for Lu Shi to go into such detail. Chapter 23-25 was better to climb out of the coffin. Yoon Chujio recorded all these people in Xiao Hei's account book. There was no need to be afraid of accounting. Let's take it slow. After a while, Yoon Chujio saw that everyone here was either praising Yi Bingying or belittling her and Yi Lan, so she sneaked to the west living room of the Yi residence. The Yi residence had two large living rooms. The east living room was usually used to entertain male guests, while the west living room was used to entertain female guests. Gushir sat at the main seat and was chatting with a few old ladies. Naturally, the topic of conversation could not avoid mentioning Yoon Chujio, although Gushir tried her best to suppress the gloating in her heart. However, her tone still carried a hint of gloating. Sigh. You all probably heard that that girl is Lan's daughter. Not to mention her spiritual power, her personality is not as obedient as Bingying. She also has a heavenly thunder spirit root that the heavenly Tao does not tolerate. The sudden death this time is probably due to the heavenly Tao wiping her out. The few old ladies present were all quite shocked when they heard Gushir's words. It was actually a heavenly lightning spiritual root? No wonder she died so suddenly at such a young age. The few old ladies present were all shrewd. When they saw Gushir's expression and heard her words, they naturally understood that this Ji Shi probably did not like the third Miss Yi who had died. Everyone felt some disdain in their hearts. Although this Yi family was ranked high, this Gushir was really unable to bring herself to show off. No matter how dissatisfied you were in your heart, she was already dead, so you shouldn't say anything right or wrong. It was really demeaning. However, there were still people who supported her. Lu Shi's mother, Yang Shi, smiled and echoed, "Mother-in-law, if you ask me, Yi Lan was removed from the Yi family back then. You actually succeeded her daughter under the name of the second son. Your Yi family is really magnanimous." Gushir sighed. After all, she's a junior. Even if she doesn't live up to her expectations, she can't just stand by and do nothing. It's not that I want to say this, but that girl's temperament is really not that good. I originally wanted to teach her some rules, But I didn't expect that she would actually die just like her short-lived mother. Hearing Gu Shi's words, only Yang Shi chimed in with a few words. The other old madams did not say anything. It was better to die. Gu Shi's harshness was really a little too much. Yun Chujio, who was standing in the corner, curled her lips. She wondered if Ji Shi and Lu Shi would be so angry that they would vomit blood if they knew that she was not dead. Jump around as much as you want. The more you jump around now, the more disappointed you would be. Yun Chujio was afraid that she would be exposed if she stayed in the house for too long. Therefore, she found an opportunity to leave the west living room and return to the vicinity of the spirit shed. It was difficult to hide in this place with so many people. Yun Chujio learned from the crowd that the rule here was to hold a funeral banquet on the third day after the spirit was suspended, and then bury the deceased. Yun Chujio calculated that tomorrow would be the official day. Other than the people who came today to pay their respects, there would be many people who would rush over. Then she would give them a surprise tomorrow. She had already figured it out. Since the Yi family had told the public that she had died suddenly, the best way for her to resurrect was to climb out of the coffin. TSK. Just thinking about it made her a little excited. However, how could she climb into the coffin? There should be someone guarding the coffin even at night. It seemed like she needed to find an insider. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and looked at Yi Bingyu, who was drooping her head with ill intentions. Yi Bingyu was daydreaming when she suddenly felt that someone was looking at her. When she looked up, she did not find anything unusual. Yi Bingyu shook her head. It was most likely because she did not sleep well yesterday that she was hallucinating. Chapter 23-26. I have something important to tell you after all. Yun Chujio was only an unmarried girl. The funeral rules in the immortal Yuan continent were not as complicated as those in the secular world. Thus, the people accompanying the spirits only needed to stand and return the gifts to the mourners. However, standing for the entire mourning was tiring enough. Lu Shi and Yi Bingyu were naturally unwilling to do such a laborious task. They had long accompanied those madams to the western living room. Min Shi and Yi Bingyu, who were not welcomed by Gu Shi, were tragically left in the spirit loft. Min Shi's heart ached for Yi Bingyu, so she lowered her voice and said, "According to the rules, condolence is only allowed before noon. After noon you can go back to the courtyard to rest for a while. Mother will stay here to guard." "Mother, your health is not good. It's better for me to stay here to guard. You can go back and rest." Yi Bingyu stretched her limbs and said. The mother and daughter moved back and forth. In the end, it was still the Min Shi who persuaded Yi Bingyu. Yi Bingyu could only listen to the Min Shi's arrangements and prepare to return to the courtyard to rest for a while before coming over to replace the Min Shi. Yun Chujio, who was hiding in the corner, could not help but have her eyes light up. This was her chance. Yun Chujio followed behind Yi Bingyu and walked towards the backyard. When the old woman guarding the main gate of the inner residence saw that Yun Chujio was following Yi Bingyu, she did not stop her. She guessed that some lattice maid was following Miss Bingyu to retrieve something. Yi Bingyu did not notice it at first because she had a lot on her mind. After a while, she realized that something was wrong. "Stop! Which guest's maid are you? Why did you break into the back residence?" Yi Bingyu shouted sternly. Yun Chujio smiled at Yi Bingyu and said in a low voice, "Sister Bingyu, it's me. I'm little Jiu, who wants to enter the primordial chaos sect with you." Yi Bingyu was stunned for a moment before she subconsciously wanted to scream. However, Yun Chujio, who was already prepared, covered her mouth and said, "I didn't die from the fire. I have something to tell you. It's important." Yun Chujio saw that Yi Bingyu had calmed down, so she let go of her hand and said, "Continue walking forward and pretend that nothing happened." Yi Bingyu felt that her brain was not enough. Little Jiu had not been burned to death? How was this possible? That was the Earth Core fire. Housekeeper Fu said that only the mighty figures of the primordial chaos sect could save their lives. How could little Jiu be safe? And how did her appearance become like this? How did she do it? Yi Bingyu returned to her own courtyard in a daze. The other maids and women in the courtyard had gone to help, leaving only Luli behind. Luli saw that her miss had brought back an unfamiliar girl. Although she was curious, she did not dare to ask further. Stand guard outside. Don't let anyone in, Yi Bingyu said to Luli. Luli obediently stood guard outside the courtyard. Only then did Yi Bingyu lower her voice and exclaimed, "Are you really Yun Chuzhou? You didn't lie to me? Aren't you dead?" "Pooey. You're the one who's dead. A disaster like me will live for 10,000 years. Yun Chuzhou crossed her legs and sat on the chair. She poured herself a cup of tea and sipped it. Initially, Yi Bingyu had some doubts about Yun Chuzhi's identity. Now that she heard her tone and looked at how shameless she was, she immediately confirmed that the person in front of her was the thick-skinned Yun Chuzhou. Yi Bingyi's nose was a little sore, and she said unhappily, "Since you're not dead, why did you pretend to be a ghost and become like this?" "Sigh. It's a long story. I only found out that I was dead after I entered the city. I can't say that I'm alive again, right? If that's the case, where will the Yi family put their face?" Yun Chuzhou sighed and said. Chapter 23-27 showed you something good. Even if what you said makes sense, didn't you fall into the volcano? Why aren't you dead? Yi Bingyu was a little girl after all, so her curiosity overcame her resentment. Yun Chuzhou smiled mysteriously. "Sister Bingyu, let's go to the courtyard. I'll show you something good." Yi Bingyu didn't understand and followed Yun Chuzhou into the courtyard. Yun Chuzhou threw the three-eyed purple-tailed iron claw sculpture on the ground, and the huge corpse immediately occupied the entire courtyard. Yi Bingyu didn't have time to feel sorry for the crushed flowers and plants. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She carefully walked closer and carefully looked at it. She stuttered, This is a level 45 three-eyed purple-tailed iron claw sculpture?" Yun Chuzhou nodded. "That's right. I heard that the leather of this thing is a good material to make boots. I'll give you a pair when the time comes." "Really?" Yi Bingyu was pleasantly surprised. The boots made of the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's leather not only had a defensive function, but also could increase the wearer's speed. However, the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle was very difficult to capture by cultivators, so the boots made of its leather couldn't be bought even if one had money. "Of course it's true. I've told you that if anyone treats me well, I'll repay them very well. Once I die you'll be so sad. Naturally, I'll treat you as a good sister." Yun Chuzhou had always thought that if you treat others well, you shouldn't be embarrassed to say it. Not everyone was a clever person, and not everyone knew who to thank for their kindness. Therefore, when it was time to show off, they had to show off. As expected, Yi Bingyu was very touched. Although she didn't say anything, she remembered Yun Chuzhi's kindness. Yun Chuzhou put the three-eyed purple-tailed iron claw eagle back into her storage ring, and the two of them returned to the house. "Little Joe, how did you get this three-eyed purple-tailed iron claw eagle?" Yi Bingyu asked curiously. Yun Chuzhou giggled. "Didn't I fall down? When I saw the fire below, I felt that I was doomed. Fortunately, with the golden umbrella that my grandfather gave me, I survived for a while. Fortunately, although the mountain was extremely hot, there was no intense fire. However, the mountain peak was sealed, so I had no way to come out. After a long time, I still couldn't find a way out. Just as I was frowning, I heard the sound of a demonic beast's claw pulling at a rock. I was scared half to death and hid behind a rock. Soon, a basin-sized hole appeared on the rock wall. A claw covered in fiery red fur extended from outside. Guess what kind of demonic beast that is?" Yi Bingyi's heart was in her throat as she shook her head. "How would I know? Tell me quickly, don't keep me in suspense." After a while, the cave entrance became bigger and bigger. A level 45 fire-eating Xiao actually entered. I was so scared that I almost fainted. How could I be a match for that thing? At this critical moment, a bird's call came from outside. The fire-eating Xiao was attracted by the bird's call and turned around to walk out. I heard the intense sounds of fighting outside. I gritted my teeth and walked to the cave entrance to carefully look outside. I discovered that it was actually a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle fighting with the fire-eating Xiao. Although the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle was powerful, the fire-eating Xiao was even more powerful. After more than an hour, the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle was killed. At this moment, another three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle flew over. It was probably the original one's companion. They were fighting with the fire-eating Xiao. I took advantage of the fact that they were fighting in the distance and both sides were injured. I collected the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's corpse and escaped in the chaos. TSK, how is it? Only a smart person like me can benefit from a disaster. Not only did I survive the disaster, but I also obtained the corpse of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. Are you convinced? Yun Chuzhou said smugly. Chapter 23-28. Yun Chuzhiu's resurrection plan. Yibingyu was dumbfounded. The thrilling and bizarre process had already exceeded her imagination. There was actually no fire in the belly of the mountain. She had even encountered a fire-eating Xiao and two three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagles. In the end, not only did this fellow escape unscathed, he had even picked up the corpse of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle for nothing. Yun Chuzhiu's story was something she had thought up after much thought. Although it sounded a little strange, half of it was the truth. Even if the Yi family sent people to check, the belly of the mountain was indeed empty, and they could still find the fire-eating Xiao. Moreover, there was the corpse of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle as evidence. However, the Yi family would probably not go. After all, a level 45 fire-eating Xiao was not to be trifled with. After a long while, Yi Bingyu finally regained her senses. She asked Yun Chuzhou a few more details, and Yun Chuzhou told her everything vividly. Yi Bingyu sighed in her heart. This little Zhou was really lucky. She actually encountered such a strange thing and did not die. Could it be that she was really a scourge that lived for 10,000 years? Oh right. How did your appearance become like this? Yi Bingyu asked curiously. I accidentally got a disguise pill. After I ate it, my appearance became like this. Don't worry. I'll be able to return to my original appearance tomorrow morning. Now let's discuss how to perfectly resurrect me. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Isn't that simple? I'll send a voice transmission talisman to great-grandfather. He will naturally be able to help you think of a good idea. Yi Bingyu said lightly. When we come up with a plan, we'll naturally have to inform great-grandfather, but not now. I don't need to tell you that Gushi and the eldest branch have spies everywhere. They can't wait for me to die, and they might take the opportunity to really kill me. Even if they don't dare to kill me and take the opportunity to pour dirty water on me, I'll die of grievance. I don't want to be pointed at by others. Moreover, if the news gets out, our Yi family will lose an adult. There was another point that Yun Chuzhou did not mention. This funeral was a good opportunity. It would be a pity if it was wasted like this. Then wouldn't she die in vain? Little Zhou, what do you want to do? Although Yi Bingyu did not beat around the bush as much as Yun Chuzhou, she was not stupid. She had heard the conversation between the Lu Shi and those people. She could criticize a dead person. If she knew that little Zhou was faking her death, she would definitely make up something even more vicious. When you're on night duty, think of a way to distract the others. Then I'll climb into the coffin. Tomorrow at the funeral you'll do this. Then I'll do this. Let's put on a good show for them to see, Yun Chuzhou said slyly. Yi Bingyu was dumbfounded after hearing it. She felt that if she were to compare her brain to this pervert in front of her, her brain would be useless. This guy had too many bad ideas. Then what should I tell great-grandfather? Yi Bingyu was now completely convinced by a certain Zhou's Black Lotus skill. She simply listened to whatever she was told. We can't tell him now. If we do, great-grandfather might stop us, and he might even leak the news. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. When you tell him, you'll also be vague and say whatever you can. If he scolds you afterward, just say that I forced you not to tell him. If there's anything, just push it on me. I naturally have a way to coax him into letting me off. If she told old Master Yi in advance, there was an 80 to 90% chance that he would not agree with her approach. If that was the case, wouldn't her bad intentions be in vain? Chapter 23-29 Chit-chat across the coffin. Yoon Chujo blinked her eyes and continued. The old woman guarding the inner residence saw me just now. In a while, let Luli wear my clothes and go out with you. Then, when the old woman is changing shifts, Luli will sneak in again to avoid any trouble. What about me? Come back during dinner. I will wear Luli's clothes and go out with you. Then at midnight, you will think of a way to distract your mother so that I can lie in the coffin. Yi Bingyu nodded. She had already broken all the rules. Anyway, her brain could not be compared to a pervert's. She would just do as Yoon Chujo said. After the two of them finished discussing, Yi Bingyu ate something. Then she asked Luli to change into Yoon Chujio's clothes, and followed Yi Bingyu out of the inner residence. Luli had her head lowered the whole time. In addition, Yi Bingyu had intentionally or unintentionally covered her face. The old woman guarding the door subconsciously thought that it was the maid who had just come in. During dinner, Yi Bingyu used the same trick again and brought Yoon Chujio, who was wearing Luli's clothes, out. The sky was already getting dark, and the old woman guarding the door didn't pay much attention to it. She thought that Yi Bingyu had brought her maid out. When they reached the spirit shed, Yoon Chujio found a corner and stood with her head lowered. Min-shur also thought that it was one of Yi Bingyi's maids, so she didn't pay too much attention to it. Mother, you've been guarding here for a day. Go back and rest. I'll keep watch, Yi Bingyu said to Min-shur. How could Min-shur trust Yi Bingyu to keep watch? No matter what she said, she wouldn't agree. In the end, Yi Bingyu said, Mother, why don't you go back and rest for 4 hours before coming back? We mother and daughter will keep watch together. Min-shur was indeed a little tired. She could only nod in agreement and give some instructions. Then she stood up and left the spirit loft. There were still some guards outside the spirit loft. Yi Bingyu walked out and said to them, You guys have been standing there for a whole day. Come back after you have eaten at the canteen. Those guards naturally could not wait. All of them left with great gratitude. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Bingyu and Yoon Chujio lifted the lid of the coffin, and then Yoon Chujio lay inside. TSK, it's still quite comfortable inside. Sister Bingyu, do you want to come in and lie down for a while? Yoon Chujio said with a smile. The corner of Yi Bingyi's eyes twitched. You can enjoy yourself inside. I'm not as perverted as you. Just as Yi Bingyu was speaking, the coffin was opened. Yoon Chujio sat inside and scolded. It's good in here, but it's a little hard to breathe. I need to make a few air holes. Keep an eye on it. Let me know if anyone comes. Yi Bingyu nodded and walked to the exit of the spirit shed to keep an eye on it. Yoon Chujio shot a few purple needles at the bottom of the coffin to control the force of the explosion, and made a few air holes. Seeing that Yoon Chujio was done, Yi Bingyu walked over to help close the coffin lid. The two of them began to chat across the coffin board. Yoon Chujio curled her lips and said, Sister Bingyu, I'm not trying to sow discord. Don't you think that Gushur and the eldest branch are too much? Not only did they let you and second aunt guard during the day, but they also let you guard at night. Lu Shur and Yi Bingying rushed to the front when something good happened, but they left the suffering to our second branch. Yi Bingyu snorted coldly, it's always like this. The main branch is the one who shows his face, but the second branch is the one who contributes. To say something disrespectful, this is because you're dead, so they let me and my mother guard the place. If someone else dies, I think my father will have to come and guard the place too. Chapter 23:30. The sinister Gushur Sister Bing, don't worry. They will be as miserable as they are now. Yoon Chujio curled her lips. There was plenty of time in the future, and this was just the beginning. Yi Bingyu agreed. She was looking forward to what would happen the next morning. After a while the guards returned. Yi Bingyu knelt beside the coffin and whispered to Yoon Chujio. The spiritual tent was very big, so the guards outside couldn't hear her. Even if they were discovered and said that she was crying, no one would suspect anything. After a while the Min-shur didn't come over either. Yi Bingyu couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Little Joe, why do you think my mother hasn't come over yet? I guess that old venomous woman from the Gushur probably wants to torment second aunt and you. She might be faking an illness or something like that. If second aunt goes to treat her illness, you can only guard the spirit alone. This way, not only can she scare you, but she can also make second aunt feel uncomfortable. How sinister. Yun Chujo curled her lips and said, "It can't be, right? Will she cause trouble at this time?" Yi Bingyu didn't quite believe it. If you don't believe it, just send a voice transmission talisman to your mother and ask. Yun Chujo felt that she was most likely right. Otherwise, the Minshur loved Yi Bingyu so much that she wouldn't not come back for so long. When Yi Bingyu heard this, she sent a voice transmission talisman to the Minshur. After a while, she received a reply from the Minshur. The Minshur's voice was very anxious and helpless. "Bingyu, your grandmother said that she had a headache and insisted that I stay here to treat her illness. Hold on for a while. When she falls asleep, your mother will go over and replace you." Yi Bingyu was so angry that she gritted her teeth. "Little Joe, it's just as you said. That old and evil woman from the Gushur is simply inhuman. How do I reply to my mother?" Yun Chujo thought for a moment and said, "You tell your mother that you've grown up and can help her share something so that she doesn't have to worry about you." Yi Bingyu said somewhat bashfully, "Aren't these words of yours too mushy? I can't say it out loud." "Bah! What's there to be mushy about? If you don't say it out loud, your mother has always treated you as a child. You don't want your mother to be tortured by the old witch while worrying about you, right? Then you just follow what I've taught you." Yi Bingyu clenched her fists. Her face was slightly red as she followed Yun Chuji's instructions and told Minshur. At this moment in Gushur's bedroom, Gushur was lying on the bed with her eyes closed to rest. Minshur was standing at the side with her hands hanging down. Her expression was very anxious. Gushur opened her eyes and glanced at her. She said in a strange tone, "Why? Are you very unwilling to let you serve an old woman like me?" "Mother, my daughter-in-law doesn't dare. My daughter-in-law is just a little worried about Bingyu. She is alone in the spirit shed on night duty. My daughter-in-law is afraid that she will be afraid," answered Minshur gently. "Humph. She is already a 19-year-old girl. What is there to be afraid of? You have to guard here tonight. Otherwise, tomorrow, I will say in front of everyone that your daughter isn't strict and will stop you from being filial to me," said Gushur coldly. Minshur's hands were tightly clenched into fists. She wished that she could go forward and strangle this old woman to death. However, filial piety was more important than the heavens. She did not dare to. If she disobeyed Gushur would definitely force Yijiong to divorce her. Gushur glanced at Minshur's frowning face and felt very relieved in her heart. Slut. A few days ago, she actually teamed up with that little slut Yun Chujo to watch her make a fool of herself. You will suffer in the future. Just then, Minshur noticed that the sound transmission talisman started to tremble. She sent her divine sense in. Yi Bingyi's voice came from inside. "Mother, you don't have to worry about me. I have already grown up. I can do it alone. You must believe me." Chapter 2331. I am your great nobleman. Gushur saw that Minshur's eyes were red and she felt even more relieved. She reckoned that last Bingyu must be crying. She deserved it. Her little hooves weren't good either. Minshur's heart felt like it was turning upside down. She didn't expect that Bingyu had really grown up. On the other side, after Yi Bingyu sent out the voice transmission talisman, she nervously waited for Minshur's reply. "Little Joe, it was all your stupid idea. My mother must have been scared by me." Yun Chujo pursed her lips. "If you don't believe me, don't ask for my opinion in the future. I didn't mean that. I'm just worried about my mother. That old and evil woman from Gushur might not have thought of some vicious way to torment my mother. I just don't understand. My father is also her son. Why is she so biased towards the eldest uncle's family? Could it be because my mother didn't give birth to a son? I don't know about that. You have to ask that old woman." However, the ending of a story is usually that the child who is doted on is useless. On the contrary, the child who is neglected is more promising. Yi Bingyu was stunned. She fell into deep thought and didn't say anything. At this moment, the voice transmission talisman rang. Bingyu, you've grown up. Mother believes in you. Yi Bingyu was stunned for a moment before her nose turned sour and she started crying. The more she cried, the louder her voice became. When the guards outside the spirit hut heard this, they could not help but sigh. Miss Bingyu and the deceased third miss were really close. During the day there were probably too many people and she was too embarrassed to cry. Now that there was no one else, she started crying. Listen to how sad she was crying. Yun Chujio was really brave. She used a rolling pin to prop up the coffin board and sat inside the coffin. She said faintly, "That's enough. Save your tears for tomorrow morning." "Did your mother say something?" Yi Bingyu wiped her tears with her hand. "My mother said that I've grown up and she said that she believed in me. I'm really useless. Although I'm shouting happily, I still can't help my mother." "You're really quite stupid," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Yi Bingyu glared at her. Then she heard Yun Chujio continue. "But your fate is good. You've met such a great noble like me. Don't worry, it'll help you take care of that old woman. Moreover, it'll make your mother proud and proud of you." Yi Bingyu looked at Yun Chujio's eyes that were as bright as stars. Even though she was sitting in the coffin now, even though this was her spiritual tent, even though she clearly knew that the young girl's spiritual power was only at the first level of the Ling Xian realm at this moment, she was extremely confident that what she said was true. She would really change her fate. "I believe you." Yi Bingyu stared into Yun Chujio's eyes and slowly and firmly spat out these 4 words. Yun Chujio smiled brightly. "In the future, you will be incomparably grateful for the decision you have made at this moment. Now tell me everything you know, no matter how big or small. This will be the best way to pass this long night." The two of them conversed in low voices. They only took turns to be on night duty in the second half of the night and slept for a while. In the early morning, Min Shur rushed to the spirit shed. Although she felt a little more at ease after receiving Yi Bingyi's voice transmission talisman, she was still a little worried. When she saw that Yi Bingyu was alive and kicking, she finally relaxed. "Mother, are you all right? Did that old woman torture you again?" Yi Bingyu lowered her voice and asked worriedly. Min Shur shook her head. "Mother is fine. On the other hand, were you scared last night?" "Mother, I already said that I've grown up. I was just guarding the spirit alone. It's fine. Besides, little Jiu is still with me." Inside the coffin, Yun Chujio was so angry that she was twitching. This idiot. Chapter 2332. The astonished old master Yi. When Yi Bingyu finished speaking, she immediately regretted it. "It's over." She said it was over. Just as she did not know how to describe it, she heard the Min Shur say in a low voice, "Sigh. Little Jo is a good child. It's just a pity that her life is bitter." In the end, even her corpse was gone. She could only make an empty coffin. Yi Bingyu and Yun Chujio could not help but heave a sigh of relief. The Min Shur must have misunderstood and thought that Yi Bingyu was talking about a coffin. Just as the mother and daughter were about to speak again, they saw Lu Shur and Yi Bingyu rush over. Min Shur could not help but sneer in her heart. This mother and daughter were used to acting. They were probably afraid that there would be early guests, so they came to pretend to be virtuous. When Lu Shur saw that Min Shur's eyes were red, she said smugly, "Sister-in-law, I heard that mother invited you to serve her illness yesterday. I originally wanted to go over, but mother did not like me. She was used to you serving her, so I did not go over." Min Shur was furious, but she didn't dare to flare up. She said submissively, "Sister-in-law, serving mother is what I should do." Lu Shur pursed her lips. She didn't put Min Shur in her eyes at all. She looked at the coffin and said, "Sister-in-law, this person can't compete with the heavens. If it's yours, then it's yours. If it's not yours, then it's not yours, even if you die from exhaustion." Just like this Yun Chujio. She has a poor life and simply doesn't have the qualifications to be our Yi family's young miss. She even had the delusion of competing with Bing Ying. It really makes people laugh. Now she has suffered retribution. Not even a corpse was left behind. How pitiful. Minshur lowered her head and did not say anything. Yi Bingyu, who was at the side, could not help but sneer in her heart. In the end, the one who made people laugh might not be the one. When Lu Shur saw that Minshur did not respond, she mocked and ridiculed a few more times. Then she brought Yi Bingying to stand on the other side. After a while, people came over one after another to pay their respects. Lu Shur and Yi Bingying repeated the same old routine from yesterday. They met each other from both sides and were very pleased with themselves. Yi Bingyu recalled Yun Chujia's instructions and found an opportunity to send a voice transmission talisman to Old Master Yi. Old Master Yi's seniority was high, so he and a few elders of similar status were drinking tea and exchanging greetings in his courtyard. Although Old Master Yi's mood was not particularly bad, he was also very depressed. Although he did not have a deep relationship with Yun Chujio, the death of his great-granddaughter, whom he had just recognized just like that, really made people sigh. Old Master Yi realized that it was Yi Bingyu who sent him the voice transmission talisman and could not help but frown. Why did this girl Bingyu have no priorities? Why would she send a voice transmission talisman at this juncture? Old Master Yi thought for a moment and still found an excuse to go to the study room and take out the voice transmission talisman. Old Master Yi sent his spiritual sense in. Then he heard Yi Bingyu say, "Great-grandfather, I want to tell you a piece of good news. Little Jiu is not dead. She is now hiding in the coffin. When the funeral begins, she will give you a surprise." Even though Old Master Yi was already an old fox that was impervious to all poisons, he was still shocked and almost threw out the sound transmission talisman in his hand. His first reaction was that the Bingyu girl had gone mad. However, he carefully thought about it. The Bingyu girl's words had a nose and eyes and did not seem crazy. He asked, "Bingyu girl, is what you said true? What exactly is going on?" "Great-grandfather, what I said is absolutely true. As for the specifics, I'm not sure either. When little Nine revives, let her tell you. I'm going to accompany the spirit and want reply to you." Old Master Yi was so angry that his beard stood up. Why did this Bingyu girl become so jumpy like little Nine? Could it be that little Nine girl really did not die? Chapter 2333. Little Sister Jo was the favored child of Tiandao. Old Master Yi began to circle around the room. If little Jo was not dead, why did she hide in the coffin? She even said that she wanted to give him a surprise. What was going on? Old Master Yi circled around a few times and suddenly stopped. He suddenly understood why Yun Chujio wanted to be resurrected in the coffin. The Yi family had spread the news that she had died of a sudden illness. Then, it would be most appropriate for her to be resurrected in the coffin. This little girl was quite meticulous. However, what was with the surprise that she had mentioned? And how did she escape death? And how did she sneak into the manor? Old Master Yi realized that this great-granddaughter that he had just recognized was really hard to fathom. As expected of Lan's daughter, she was indeed not an ordinary person. Forget it, since she wanted to keep him in suspense. Then let's see what kind of tricks she had up her sleeves. Great-grandfather Yi calmed himself down before returning to the courtyard and drinking tea with the few elders. At 2:15 in the morning, it was time for the funeral. Everyone from the Yi family as well as those who came to pay their respects arrived at the spirit shed. Great-grandfather Yi glanced at the coffin but did not find anything unusual. He was a little suspicious. Was what Bingyu said true? The funeral was presided over by a professional and was explained according to the routine. Then, the members of the Yi family cried a few times at the right time. Then it was time for the nail suppression segment, which was to use 7 long nails to nail the coffin to death. Just as the host finished speaking, Yi Jiong and Yi Zhihui took the hammer and long nails and were about to nail the coffin to death. At this moment, Yi Bingyu pounced on the coffin and wailed loudly, "Little ninth sister, you're so heartless. How did you die? I can't bear to part with you. Little ninth sister, we've only been together for a few days, and you're already dead like this. This sister's heart is about to be broken." Some of the madams who were attending the condolence saw Yi Bingyu crying so miserably that their noses felt a little sore. They didn't expect that the second miss of the Yi family was such an affectionate girl, that she actually cared so much about this sister that she had just recognized. In comparison, not only did the corners of Yi Bingying's eyes and brows not show any grief, but there was even a proud expression on her face. Tsk, she was really cold and indifferent. Lu Shi saw the expressions of everyone and was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She walked to the front of the coffin and advised, "Bingyu, little ninth girl has already passed away. Don't be too sad. It's better to bury her in the ground as soon as possible." Woo woo, no. First aunt, little ninth sister, once said that she was the favored child of Tian Dao. Her aptitude is even better than sister Bingying. She will become a heaven's favorite in the immortal Yuan continent in the future. She will not die. Yi Bingyu cried like a crazy demon. When everyone heard Yi Bingyi's words, they could not help but whisper, "The favored child of Tian Dao? Her aptitude is even better than Yi Bingying? That dead third Miss Yi is actually so outstanding? If that's true, then it would be such a pity." Lu Shi had yet to speak when Yi Bingying could not keep her cool. That damned Yun Chuzhou had fought with her for her favor when she was alive, and even after she died, she still wanted to suppress her. In her dreams, "Bingyu, are you so sad that you're muddled? Little Jiu has a heavenly thunder spirit root, and that's a heavenly spirit root that Tian Dao doesn't tolerate. How can she be Tian Dao's favorite?" Although Yi Bingying tried her best to make her words gentle, but there was still some questioning in her voice. "I'm not muddle-headed. Although little sister Little Nine has a heavenly thunder spirit root, the Tian Dao has never punished her. She is the darling of the Tian Dao. Otherwise, how could a little girl from a lower continent become a student of the Xingtian Academy? Moreover, little sister Little Nine is a grade 10 alchemist. If she isn't the darling of the Tian Dao, then what is?" Yi Bingyu said stubbornly while wiping her tears. Chapter 2334. Yi Bingying, who was angered when everyone heard Yi Bingyi's words, they started discussing again. What this Yi Bingyu said makes sense. If she was not tolerated by Tian Dao, how could she have lived to this age? She would have been wiped out by Tian Dao long ago. That's right, for a little girl from a low-grade continent to have the current level of spirit energy and pill refinement, she must be a favored child of Tian Dao. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to do it. No wonder Yi Bingyu said that third Miss Yes aptitude is even higher than Yi Bingying's. She has the heavenly thunder root, so naturally, her ordinary spiritual roots can't compare. Yi Bingying's face flushed red when she heard everyone's discussion. Originally, Yun Chuzhou was her inner demon. Now that she was dead, she was actually stronger than her. One could imagine the resentment in her heart. Lu Shi understood her daughter. She was afraid that she would say something inappropriate, so she gave her a look. Then she said to Yi Bingyu, "Bingyu, even if what you said is true, little Jiu is already dead. Stop making trouble and let her rest in peace." "No. Little sister Little Jiu will definitely come back to life. Tian Dao will not let her die. Little Jiu, wake up." Sob sob. Yi Bingyu cried as she patted the coffin lid. Inside, Yun Chuzhou was so angry that she was twitching. This idiot, was he trying to deafen her ears? He was too engrossed in the drama. Yun Chuzhou could only cover her ears with her hand. Now was not the time yet. It was only after a while that she would have a good opportunity to leave. Gusher really could not hold it in any longer. She glared at Minshi. "Second brother's family, why aren't you pulling that last Bingyu up? What kind of shame is this?" Minshi really didn't do it on purpose. She was shocked by Yi Bingyi's actions. A mother knows her daughter like a mother. She felt that Yi Bingyi's actions were very abnormal, but she didn't look like she was crazy, so she didn't move. Now that she heard Gusher's words, she could only walk up to Yi Bingyu and say gently, "Bingyu, I know that you and little Jiu have a good relationship, but a person cannot be revived after death. Be obedient." As she spoke, Minshur went to support Yibingyu. She did not expect Yibingyu to hug Minshur's leg and cry again. Mother! Little ninth sister once told me that she would not die. I don't believe that she is really dead. If the coffin is nailed shut, little ninth sister will really not be able to live. Minshur's eyes turned red. Silly child. How can a dead person be resurrected? Quickly get up. Don't delay the time for the burial. No. Little sister Jo is the favorite child of Tian Dao. She won't die. Her aptitude is better than sister Bingying's. She won't die. She will bring glory to the Yi family. As Yi Bingyu spoke, she continued to lie on top of the coffin and cry bitterly. The people who participated in the condolence sighed one after another. This Yi Bingyu was really a girl who valued relationships. In the past, they even heard that she was arrogant and domineering. It seemed that the rumors couldn't be completely believed. Yi Bingying's expression became even uglier. Every time Yi Bingyu said that Yun Chujo was stronger than her, the anger in her heart rose a little. She said to Yi Bingyu with a cold face, Bingyu, it seems that you are really a demon. Not to mention that Yun Chujo is already dead. Even if she is not dead, the Yi family's name alone will not be her turn. The moment Yi Bingying's words left her mouth, everyone present was shocked. They were all shrewd people and immediately understood some of the mysteries behind it. It was likely that this Yi Bingying was very dissatisfied with the dead third Miss Yi. Lu Shi felt that things were not looking good and hurriedly added, You child, you really can't put in a good word. Although you can't bear to see little ninth girls suffer, you can't say that either. Otherwise, people will misunderstand. Chapter 23:35 Little sister Jo came back to life. Only then did Yi Bingying realize that she had misspoken, and her face turned red. Following Lu Shi's words, she said, I was too sad, so I spoke without thinking. Little sister Jo is the youngest, so we as brothers and sisters naturally have to dote on her a little. Everyone present was not a fool. If they felt sorry for their sister, why did they call her by her first name? Yi Bingyu called her little ninth sister, but she called her Yun Chujiu. Gushur saw that her beloved granddaughter was embarrassed, and her face darkened. She glared at Yi Bingyu, then she said, Don't dawdle. Boss second Dingzi. If she really is the darling of Tian Dao, unless it's raining red, she's just a good-for-nothing at the first level of the Lingxian realm. Yi Yuanliang originally did not want to embarrass Gushur in front of so many people, but now he really could not bear it anymore. Shut up. Bingyu girls sigh. Get out of the way. If you miss the time, little nine girl won't be able to reincarnate easily. Gushur never thought that Yi Yuanliang would scold her in public. Her face was burning with anger, but she did not dare to say much. In her heart, she hated Yi Bingyu and decided to wait until the funeral was over. She would definitely find a good family to marry Yi Bingyu off. When Yi Bingyu heard Yi Yuanliang say this, she cried and said, Little ninth sister, this is all I can do. Quickly wake up. Yi Bingyu cursed in her heart. It should be enough, right? Why isn't this guy coming out yet? Could it be that he's asleep? Minshur pulled Yi Bingyu to the side. Yi Zhihui and Yi Zhiong started to nail her. Yi Bingyu was a little flustered. What was going on? Could it be that little Jo was really asleep? If the nails were all nailed to death, how could she come out? Could it be that the coffin had exploded? Old Master Yi looked on with a gloomy expression. On one hand, he was doubtful whether Yun Chujo was dead or not, and on the other hand, he was extremely disappointed with Yi Bingying. Putting aside whether she was cold-hearted or not, she actually could not keep her cool in front of so many people. It was definitely difficult for her to become a great person. When the crowd saw that Yi Zhihui and Yi Zhiong had already started to nail the nails, they looked on dispiritedly. They originally did not have much hope for Yun Chuji's resurrection. They just wanted to use this opportunity to peek into the Yi family's conflict. Ding! Ding! Just as Yi Zhihui and Yi Zhiong were about to nail the third nail, a faint sigh came from inside the coffin. Idiot, why aren't you waking up? Yi Zhihui and Yi Zhiyong were so scared that they almost collapsed on the ground. Everyone was also scared silly. Why was there an old man's voice inside the coffin? Shouldn't it be the third miss of the Yi family inside? Yi Bingyu bit her lower lip hard. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would laugh out loud. Damn, this guy was really mean. If she didn't know the truth, she would probably be shocked too. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the coffin. At this time, they heard the sound of slapping coming from inside. A clear voice said, "Where is this? Let me out quickly." Yi Bingyu immediately pounced over. Little Sister Jiu. Little Sister Jiu must have come back to life. Quick, Dad, quickly open the lid of the coffin. Yi Zhiyong quickly removed the nail that was nailed in. His hands were slightly trembling, but it was clear that he was still a little afraid. Yi Zhihui took a few steps back. He knew that this was an empty coffin. Why was it an old man and a young girl? There might be something strange about it, so he didn't want to be implicated. Finally, Yi Zhiyong and Yi Bingyu removed the lid of the coffin, and a girl in red walked out of the coffin. Coffin. Red dress, beautiful girl. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Could it really be that Yun Chuzhou was resurrected? After the red-dressed girl came out of the coffin, she actually slowly walked towards Old Master Yi. Her manners were myriad, and every step was like a lotus. It was indescribably noble and elegant. It was as if the fairy of the 9 heavens had descended to the mortal world. Old Master Yi's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Although he already knew that this was a play designed by Yun Chuzhou, when he saw the red-clothed girl slowly walking over, his eyes still welled up with tears. He was wrong. He had thought that the land girl's daughter had a temperamental temperament that was more like a country bumpkin, and less like a first-class family's daughter. At this moment, it looked like even the first-class family's daughter might not be able to catch up to her bearing and nobility. This great-granddaughter would definitely be the most dazzling heaven's favorite in the immortal Yuan continent in the future. Yun Chuzhou walked in front of great-grandfather Yi and bowed. Great-grandfather, little Jiu is unfilial. I frightened you. Great-grandfather Yi's hand trembled slightly as he supported her. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Yi Bingyi's eyes widened. My goodness, this little Jiu really knows how to put on an act. She's too beautiful. Yi Bingying's body swayed on the verge of collapse. Her mind was blank and her face was as pale as snow. Yun Chuzhou actually didn't die? And she actually became so beautiful. This was impossible. This was impossible. At this time, everyone came to their senses. There were all sorts of praises and surprised voices. An old man said, Old Man Yi, quickly ask this little girl what's going on. How did she come back from the dead? Yes. What's going on? Everyone chimed in one after another, their hearts practically dying of curiosity. Only then did Old Master Yi ask, Little 9th girl, didn't you die of a sudden illness? What on earth is going on? Just as Old Master Yi's words fell, Yun Chuzhi's eyes rolled and she actually fainted. Everyone was in a flurry again. Right at this moment, Yun Chuzhou suddenly stood up to meditate, and then someone cried out in surprise, Look! That little girl's spiritual power level is changing. Heavens! She actually rose from the first layer of the Lingxian realm to the third layer of the Lingxian realm. Could it be that she had an epiphany? Oh right, wasn't there an old man's voice earlier? Could it be the messenger of Tiandao? You're right. Wasn't Yi Bingyu the favorite child of Tiandao previously? Not only did Tiandao save her, but he also gave her an opportunity. Just as everyone was discussing, Yun Chuzhou opened her eyes. Everyone was surprised to find that the little girl's temperament was different from before. If she was graceful before, she had become playful and cute now. The little girl looked at everyone blankly, then threw herself into the arms of great-grandfather Yi and cried, Great-grandfather, I thought I would never see you again. Sob, sob, I thought I was going to die. Although there were no strict rules like the 7-year-old difference between men and women in the immortal essence continent, great-grandfather Yi was still very embarrassed by Yoon Chujia's pounce. He could only say dryly, "It's okay. It's okay." Yoon Chujio cried for quite a while before she stopped crying. Great-grandfather Yi was forced by everyone's curiosity and could only ask again, "Little Jio, what exactly happened? How did you come back to life?" Yoon Chujio pouted. "I don't know either. I just vaguely felt that someone was calling me little sister Jio. I tried to open my eyes, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't open them. At that moment, it was as if an explosion had occurred in my mind, and then I didn't know anything." When everyone heard Yoon Chujio's words, they immediately made guesses. Yoon Chujio must have woken up after hearing Yi Binjia's shout. The explosion later was probably the old man's voice that we heard. Also, her performance now is completely different from before. Maybe she just received the heaven's gift, which is why her bearing is so noble and elegant. Yes, what you said makes sense. Her spiritual power has increased by 2 levels. She is indeed the favored child of Tian Dao, a person with great fortune. Sometimes it was more effective to say half words or vague words, because people's imagination was very strong. Very soon, most people looked at Yoon Chujio with burning eyes. What did the favored child of Tian Dao mean? It meant that this little girl would have a lot of opportunities. It meant that this little girl's future was limitless. Therefore, some madams immediately surrounded Yoon Chujio. Some praised her beauty, some praised her cleverness, some praised her filial piety. In short, they were all flattering words. Yoon Chujio was a long-sleeved good dancer. She was best at dealing with people. Her small mouth was as sweet as honey. Instantly, everyone was overjoyed. They felt that this little girl in front of them was more likable. Yi Bingying was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She wished that she could immediately rush forward and tell the truth. This Yoon Chujio was a liar. She was not seriously ill at all. She had fallen into a volcano. However, even though she had been blinded by jealousy, she did not dare to really say it. If she did, old Master Yi would not let her off. The expressions of Gu Shi and Lu Shi were also very ugly. Yoon Chujio's current performance was equivalent to giving them a hard slap in the face. Especially when Gu Shi had just said that Yoon Chujio was a good-for-nothing. In the end, she had become the favored child of Tian Dao. Min Shi was both happy and worried. She was naturally happy that Yoon Chujio did not die. Their second branch had a powerful helper. She was worried that Yoon Chujio's resurrection, this time, was most likely done with Yi Binjia's help. Gu Shi and Lu Shi would definitely take revenge on their second branch. Old Master Yi stroked his beard. Although he was angry that he had been deceived, he had to admit that this little girl was really good. After performing this resurrection from the dead, she completed a perfect appearance. In the future, when the people of the Eastern continent mention Yoon Chujio, the first person they would think of would definitely be Tian Dao's favorite. The heavenly thunder spirit was originally her disadvantage, but now it had become her advantage. The funeral definitely could not continue, but the banquet still had to be eaten. Everyone drank heartily, and it was very lively. A certain Jiao, who was supposed to be dead, shuttled through the crowd like a small fish. Everywhere she went, there would be cheers and laughter. Yi Bingyu, who was pulled by her side, almost had a stiff smile on her face. However, she knew that Yoon Chujio had good intentions. This was a good opportunity to show her face. Everyone's impression of Yi Bingyu was also very good. She was a girl who valued friendship and loyalty. Moreover, she was a legitimate daughter-in-law of the Yi manor. This was a good candidate for a future daughter-in-law. Min Shi saw all of this and made a decision in her heart. She decided to accept the method Yoon Chujio told her to break out of this situation. Regardless of whether Yoon Chujio's spiritual power was strong or not, with this intelligence, she would definitely become a heaven's chosen in the immortal Yuan continent. Birds would fly far away with phoenixes and phoenixes. It would definitely not be wrong for Bingyu to follow her. Some were happy while others were angry. Gushur and the others forced themselves to exchange pleasantries with the crowd, and even went against their hearts to agree with the words of Yun Chujo and Yi Bingyu. They were so aggrieved that they wanted to vomit blood. After 3 drinks and 5 dishes, everyone stood up and took their leave. Great-grandfather Yi glanced at Yun Chujo. This fellow followed great-grandfather Yi into his study. Great-grandfather Yi slapped the desk. "Little Joe, how dare you?" Yun Chujo bared her white teeth. "Thank you, great-grandfather, for your praise. Actually, I'm very timid. You don't know that when I fell down I thought I was dead for sure. Sob sob, I thought at that time I haven't been properly filial to you yet, and am actually going to die. I really can't die in peace. Stop talking nonsense. Tell me what exactly happened." When old Master Yi heard the first half of the sentence, he was so angry that he glared at her. However, when he heard the last half of the sentence, the anger in his heart immediately disappeared. Yun Chujo immediately explained the story that she had prepared. In order to prove that what she said was true, she even went to the courtyard and took out the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. "Great-grandfather, look, I'm not lying to you, right? I heard that the skin of this thing is a good material for making boots. I'll give you a pair of gifts when the time comes." Fortunately, the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle was big enough. Otherwise, it would not be enough for this product to send gifts. Great-grandfather Yi took a closer look. There were indeed many wounds on the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-claw eagle's body, and most of them were burn marks. They were consistent with the fire-eating shio that Yun Chujo had mentioned. Although great-grandfather Yi still had some doubts in his heart, he had already believed 80% of it. He sighed in his heart. This little girl was really blessed. Not only did she not die when she fell into the volcano, she even got a great bargain. Then why did you hide in the coffin and play tricks? Did you teach the Ice Feather Girl what she said? Don't you know that Gushur and Bingying made a fool of themselves, and our Yi family also lost face? Old Master Yi asked with a frown. Great-grandfather, I was forced to do this. You already told the public that I died of a sudden illness. If I suddenly jumped in, wouldn't it make your face look bad? As for what Sister Bingyu said, I was indeed the one who asked her to say it. However, I wasn't the one who asked Grandmother Gu and Sister Bingying to slander me. They can only blame themselves for not being able to keep their cool. Great-grandfather, not only should you not blame me, you should also thank me. Sister Bingying is proud and arrogant, so she should be hit a little, otherwise, I'm afraid there won't be any big developments. Yun Chujo said with a smile. She knew in her heart that she was now the Yi family's movable sign. Old Master Yi wouldn't really punish her severely. Glib tongue. Don't think that I don't know about your little schemes. Gushur and Bingying were indeed a little stupid, but if it wasn't for you setting a trap, they wouldn't have embarrassed themselves. Seeing that you were frightened, I'll let it go this time. If there's a next time, I won't let you off lightly. Do you hear me? Yes. Great-grandfather, don't worry. There definitely won't be a next time. Yun Chujo thought to herself. If Gushur provoked her again, it wouldn't be as simple as letting them embarrass themselves. Old Master Yi asked for some more details before letting Yun Chujo go. The next morning, Yun Chujo and the others sat on the flying spirit tool again and returned to the academy. Housekeeper Fu was supposed to escort them. However, Housekeeper Fu suddenly vomited and had diarrhea, so Yi Yuanliang had no choice but to let Deputy Housekeeper Lu escort them. The flying spirit tool once again flew to the place where Yun Chujo fell. Yun Chujo looked out of the observation window and thought to herself, that fire-eating shio is probably still cursing me. Just as Yun Chujia's thoughts were running wild, she felt the flying spirit tool tremble violently. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Three masters, this flying spirit tool has some problems. There is a patch of grass in front of us. Let's land first. I will bring some people to check it out. I think it will be repaired very soon. If it is a big problem, I will call out another flying spirit tool. It will definitely not delay the three masters' journey. Deputy Butler Lu wiped the sweat on his forehead and said. Yi Wenhong frowned. Why didn't you check when we set off? Forget it. Anyway, we've already left the Skyfire Valley. There shouldn't be any danger. Let's land. Yi Wenhong was the oldest, so he made a decision. Yun Chuzhou and Yi Bingyu naturally couldn't object, so the flying spirit tool landed on a piece of grass. Everyone got off the flying spirit tool. Deputy Housekeeper Lu brought people to check the flying spirit tool, while Yun Chuzhou and the other two were casually looking at the scenery. Yun Chuzhou frowned. This grassland was close to a dense forest. If there were people hiding in the dense forest, it would be very difficult to find them. In addition, Housekeeper Fu was sick, and there was something strange about this flying spirit tool. Could it be that Gushi or Lu Shi were stupid enough to want to kill her now? Thinking of this, Yun Chuzhou said to Deputy Housekeeper Lu, time is tight. Stop checking. Just summon another flying spirit tool. Deputy Butler Liu's eyes flickered. Miss, I've found the problem. It'll be fixed in 15 minutes. Besides, the speed of the other flying spirit tool is not as fast as this one. It's better to wait for this one to be fixed. Yun Chuzhou was now 90% sure that there was something fishy going on. The only thing she was not sure about was whether Yi Wenhong knew or not. Cousin Wenhong, what do you think we should do if a group of people comes out from the forest and wants to kill us? Yun Chuzhou stared into Yi Wenhong's eyes and said worriedly. Yi Wenhong smiled. Little Joe, you are too daydreaming. Our Yi family is a first-class family. Who would dare to make a move on us? Don't worry. If someone really comes to kill us, I will protect you and Bingyu. Yun Chuzhou saw that Yi Wenhong's eyes were clear, and there was no ambiguity in his words. It seemed that he did not know about it. It was just that those people would not kill him. Moreover, it was because Yi Wenhong was also on this flying spirit tool. Even if something happened, no one would suspect that it was Gushi or Lu Shi who did it. It was really a good plan. Cousin Wenhong, come over here. I want to talk to you for a moment. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes to let Yi Wenhong close to her ear. Yi Wenhong did not understand what was going on. He walked up to Yun Chuzhou, and when he heard Yun Chuzhou's words, his face immediately turned ashen. He was just about to speak when Yun Chuzhou said something again. Yi Wenhong snorted coldly and stood at the side without saying anything. Yi Bingyu did not know what had happened. She tugged at Yun Chuzhou's sleeve. Her relationship with Yi Wenhong had always been good. As Yi Wenhong was a boy, he had always been taught by Yi Yuanliang and the old master. Fortunately, he did not grow crooked. He still took good care of Yi Bingyu. Yun Chuzhou only smiled at Yi Bingyu and did not say anything. Yi Bingyu had already turned from a violent little lion into a little sheep. Therefore, when she saw that Yun Chuzhou did not say anything, she did not dare to ask further. At this moment, dozens of masked men suddenly rushed out from the dense forest and surrounded Yun Chuzhou and the rest. Other than Deputy Butler Lu, Yi Yuanliang also sent 10 guards to follow them. Those guards immediately protected Yun Chuzhou and the other two in the middle and confronted the masked men. Yi Wenhong's eyes flashed with disbelief. He glanced at Yun Chuzhou, who had a terrified expression on her face, and looked at the masked men with a complicated expression. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Everyone, what do you mean by this? We are all members of the Yi family. Have you eaten the heart of a bear or the courage of a leopard? Deputy Butler Lu said loudly. One of the masked men snorted coldly. It's your Yi family that's being robbed. Don't worry, our target is only that Yun Chuzhou. As long as you hand her over, we will spare your lives. Otherwise, all of you will die. How outrageous. Cousin Miss is a member of our Yi family. Why would we hand her over to you? Prepare to die. Deputy Butler Lu said as he rushed towards the masked man. Unfortunately, he was knocked down to the ground and tied up in less than 10 moves. Yun Chujo sneered in her heart. Acting should be more professional. As the deputy butler of the Yi family, would he be so impulsive as to go up and fight one-on-one? Moreover, was it necessary for him to be so useless? The masked man said viciously, if you don't want to die, then obediently hand Yun Chujo over to us. We have more than 3 times the number of you. If you persist in resisting, only death awaits you. I can go with you. After all, I have always been the most self-sacrificing person. I can't implicate them because of me. However, I want to know why you have captured me. Yun Chujo asked with a faint smile. The masked man obviously didn't expect Yun Chujo to be so calm. He paused for a moment, then he said, it's very simple. Aren't you Tian Dao's favorite son? My master wants to taste the taste of Tian Dao's favorite son. If you serve my master well, maybe he will reward you as a concubine. You motherfucker. Little Joe, don't be stupid. Let's rush out. Yi Bingyu shouted angrily. Yun Chujo looked at Yi Bingyu with satisfaction and then smiled at the masked man. TSK. I'm afraid your master will be disappointed. Your acting skills are really too clumsy. Cousin Wenhong, come over here for a moment. Everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Yun Chujia's words did not make sense. Was she scared silly? Yu Wenhong's expression was very complicated. He gritted his teeth and walked in front of Yun Chujio. Then something that shocked everyone happened. Yun Chujo actually took out a large kitchen knife and placed it on Yu Wenhong's neck. Yi Bingyu cried out in shock, Little Joe, are you crazy? Idiot. If you don't want to die, come over. Protect my back. Yun Chujo glared at her. Yi Bingyi's body obviously reacted faster than her brain. She subconsciously formed a defensive stance with Yun Chujia's back to back. Housekeeper Fu, who was tied up, shouted loudly, Miss Cousin, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Yun Chujo revealed a mocking smile. Deputy Housekeeper Lu, is your master old Madame Gu or my Aunt Lu Shi? Housekeeper Fu's pupils shrank. You, what nonsense are you talking about? The Yi family is extremely indebted to you. You actually want to kill young Master Wenhong. You are simply unscrupulous. TSK. You speak as if you're a human. Enough, in front of me, your acting skills are insufficient. Be it Gu Shi or Lu Shi, you don't want my handsome cousin Wenhong to lose his life, right? If he were to suffer even the slightest bit of injury, I'm afraid that your family members would all die. Yun Chujo said mockingly. The masked man and Deputy Housekeeper Lu, who were in the lead, revealed a look of panic in their eyes. The 10 guards of the Yi residence were clearly a little dumbfounded. What was going on? Yu Wenhong saw the expressions of the masked man and Deputy Steward Lu and closed his eyes. He did not argue or struggle. It was clear that he had accepted his fate. Yu Wenhong recalled what Yun Chujo had said to him before. Cousin Wenhong, I'm guessing that there will be people rushing out from the jungle in a while. Moreover, as long as you give me your names, I'll let you go. Sai, it's not that I'm being petty. Those people are most likely Grandmother Ji or Aunt Guess people. Cousin Wenhong, don't be anxious with me first. When the time comes, you'll cooperate obediently and let me kidnap you. You'll be able to understand. Although Yu Wenhong knew that Gu Shi and Lu Shi usually acted in a petty manner, he never dreamed that they would want to kill Yun Chujio. There was no need to look for any evidence. The performance of these people was enough to prove that the person behind them was either Gu Shi or Lu Shi. Yu Wenhong sighed in his heart. Regardless of whether it was his grandmother or his mother who did this, they were really muddle-headed. Fortunately, little Jio was vigilant. Otherwise, if he really killed her, his great-grandfather probably wouldn't spare them. Cousin Wenhong, now is not the time for you to sleep. Tell them to leave. If they all leave, I won't mention anything about today's matter to anyone else. If they persist in not coming to their senses, then don't blame my cousin for being ruthless, Yun Chujo said coldly. All of you leave. Regardless of whether it was grandmother or mother who instructed you, I will give them an explanation, Yi Wonhong said dejectedly. For a moment, the masked man and Deputy Butler Lu were at a loss. They had thought of many possibilities, such as Yun Chujo being unwilling to let the flying spirit tool land, or she was struggling with all her might. But even in their dreams, they had never thought that it would actually be such an awkward situation. The guards of the Yi residence had now come back to their senses. In their hearts, they hated Deputy Butler Lu to death. Damn it, so it was all his doing. If they were to succeed, the guards would not be spared from punishment after they returned to the residence. Moreover, these people might even kill them to silence them. Just as the guards of the Yi residence were fuming with anger, they heard Yun Chujo say, I know you are innocent. Protect us well. I will protect your lives. The guards were still uncertain. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, they immediately grabbed their life-saving straw and eagerly protected Yun Chujo and the other two. With the protection of these guards, it was basically impossible for the masked men to save Yi Wonhong. Yun Chujo asked Yi Bingyu to summon her flying spirit tool. Under the cover of the guards of the Yi residence, the group boarded the flying spirit tool and left. Deputy Butler Lu, who remained in the same place, was both angry and afraid. He cursed, damn it, why aren't you releasing me? The old madam won't forgive us for failing the task. The masked man said in a bad mood, You still have the face to blame me. Since you know that that stinky girl has a lot of bad water, why don't you isolate the eldest young master? The eldest young master is the same. He was actually kidnapped so easily. He's really unlucky. While the dogs were biting each other, Yun Chujo had already released Yi Wonhong from the flying spirit tool. She said with a smile, Cousin Wonhong, I'm really sorry about what happened just now. You won't blame me, right? Yi Wonhong smiled bitterly. Although his talent was not as good as Yi Bingying's, he had been raised as the heir of the Yi family since he was young, so he could see through many things very clearly. Little sister Jo is extremely intelligent. Grandmother and mother are absolutely not your match. I only have one request. If one day they fall into your hands, can you spare their lives? Cousin Wonhong, your words are so meaningless. I'm not a big devil. Why would I kill Grandmother Gu and Aunt for no reason? Instead of making a promise to me, you might as well persuade them not to kill me anymore. I'm so timid, but am very afraid, Yun Chujo said with a faint smile. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Yi Binji's eyes twitched at the side. Damn it, don't joke around. You're the only one who's timid? You dare to use a large kitchen knife to force Gushir's neck. You dare to snatch food from the fire-eating Shio's mouth. And you dare to play tricks in the coffin. If you're timid, there's no one in this world who's brave enough. Yi Wenhong's face stiffened and he said dryly, The next time it's time for a break, I'll persuade them. Little Jiu, what are you going to do about this matter? Although Yun Chujo had promised not to mention it to anyone, it was obviously not possible. After all, there were still 10 guards from the Yi residence. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall, and they would be exposed sooner or later. Sigh, Cousin Wonhong, I really want to hide this matter, but I'm afraid it's not possible. How about this, I'll do you a favor and you tell Aunt about it. Whether it's what she did or Grandmother Good did, push the blame to that Deputy Butler Lu and the masked leader, and then kill them to silence them. This matter will not be traced back to them. Yun Chujo picked up a spirit fruit and said to Yi Wonhong as she chewed on it. Yi Wonhong suddenly stood up. Yi Bingyu, who was at the side, suddenly became nervous, but Yun Chujo did not care at all and continued to eat the fruit happily. Crack crack. Yi Wonhong let out a long sigh and sat back in his chair dejectedly. Little Joe, you are indeed. Yi Wonhong really could not say the ruthless words in his heart. Little Joe had only used the people behind the scenes to kill Deputy Butler Liu and the masked leader. If one wanted to say ruthless words, it should be the culprit behind the scenes. However, she was so decisive and shrewd at such a young age. How could his mother and grandmother be her opponent? If she made mistakes again and again, she was afraid that she would only end up dead. Sure enough, what? Sure enough, she is ruthless? Cousin Wonhong, being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Today, I did not blow up the matter because of you. Otherwise, it would not be a matter of two small lackeys dying. Yun Chujo threw the fruit core aside. She leaned back on the chair and said faintly. Yi Wonhong nodded with a complicated expression. Little Joe, you don't have to say anymore. I understand. I'll do as you say. Very soon, the spaceship arrived at the outskirts of Tianluo City. The 10 guards of the Yi residence looked at each other. They were really uncertain. This young lady said that she would save their lives, but after hearing this, the person behind this assassination was actually the old madam or the first madam. Was there any way for them to survive? At this moment, Yun Chujo waved at them. You don't have to return to the Yi family for the time being. I will tell great-grandfather that you will follow me from now on. Take these spirit stones. Rent a courtyard in Tianluo City and wait for my orders at all times. Although the guards were very surprised, it was better to save their lives than anything else. Moreover, although this young lady's spiritual power was a little low, her brain was too smart. It was definitely not wrong to follow her. Yi Wonhong watched coldly from the side. He couldn't help but admire her even more. Not only did this little cousin resolve a crisis, she even took the opportunity to subdue 10 guards. She was truly extremely intelligent. Everyone entered Tianluo City. The guards of the Yi residence sent Yun Chujo to the gate of the Xingtian Academy. Only then did they follow Yun Chujia's instructions to rent a courtyard. After Yun Chujo entered the Xingtian Academy, she went straight to Dean Gongsun's study. Yes, she used the back door. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.